And now it's time to bait our hooks, cast our nets, drop our poles in the water, and fish for some jokes with Down on the Docks. Well. Welcome to episode 17 of Down on the Docks. I'm joined as always by the man behind the board, the one that runs the chords, Dave Sarah. How are you, buddy?
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You know, Dave, people know I'm an internet celebrity.
Yeah.
And I take that title very seriously.
And I ride those coattails, baby.
And I'm happy you do. And once in a while, I'll be out in the real world and I'll run into a friend or maybe somebody that's heard the show, and they'll be like, Chris,
sometimes both.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's both, that's a great day for me, by the way. So I'll run into somebody and they'll be like, wow, I haven't seen you forever. Congratulations on Down on the Docks. How do I get on the show?
Yeah.
And my answer is simple to everybody.
It's very easy.
You give it 5 stars.
Okay.
You leave me a review.
Uh-huh.
And all you got to do is knock on my door at Monday at 8 o'clock and you're on the show. So that being said, this very thing I just said happened to me over the weekend. So we have a special guest today. I ran into her over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I didn't run into her. I said, hey, do you want to meet up? My mom's in town. She's a very good friend of mine. And she was like, congratulations on Down on the Docks. How do I get on the show?
Right.
And I was like, well,
it's pretty simple.
5-star review and then a detailed review of how much you love the show. Yes. So without further ado, joining us today, my good friend, Carling Carol Freeborn Kane, the girl with 5 names. How are you, Carling?
4
That's
names.
4, but hello. Hi.
Thank you
I'm
for
good.
coming on.
Great to have
that
some
is
diversity.
exactly what happened.
Well, first of all, thank you for being a big supporter of the show.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
You did say you were going to leave a review and
did.
put 5 stars.
I did.
But as of today, we can't see that review.
It's there, I promise.
Right.
It'll show. It's being marked for it's being checked by the administrators.
My point is, if this thing's not up by tomorrow, I'm not putting the show out.
Oh fuck.
Okay?
damn.
Well,
Because I'm serious about my rule.
okay.
But somebody's going to come on Tuesday at 8 p.m. instead.
I still better get paid. That's all I know.
We will get you paid. So, guys,
Wait, you get paid? I don't get paid.
Hey.
you get paid in laughter, Carly.
Hey. Let's
So,
not.
obviously, we've been on a pretty wild stretch of docs here.
Oh yeah. man.
And this week, it's what week? It's time to get trending.
Yeah,
So everybody flooded my inboxes.
Yeah, last week was rough, doggy. We need some lightheartedness.
We need to lighten it up.
Yeah, we need to lighten it up.
Anyway, my inboxes got flooded, and I do answer every one of those, as you guys know. And they were like, dude, Pepsi, where's my jet?
Yep.
And the first time I got it, I was like, what are they talking
Oh,
about?
I love this.
So this is a 4-part docuseries on Netflix. It's not Dude, Pepsi, Where's My Jet? It's Pepsi, Where's My Jet?
Yeah.
But then I did find out it was a play off of Dude, Where's My Car?
Got it.
I've never seen Dude, Where's My Car? Have you guys?
Yes.
Is it a good one?
I don't know how you classify as good as far as those kind of movies go, but sure.
So, Dave, is it shit or is it?
I mean, it's an old cult classic. If you were a teenager in the 90s or the early 2000s,
It's perfect.
you'll watch it. But if you
and
were,
that's why you guys are here, because you're both 10 years younger
Yep.
than me. We're going to cover a subject that hit you when you guys, were in junior high or high school, and I was way above the class at that
Right.
point. I was in college. I didn't have time to watch TV. I missed a lot of this shit, to be honest, because I was in a blackout for about 10 years.
Right.
So I think you're going to be very helpful to the show. So let's get into Pepsi, Where's My Jet, directed by Andrew Renzi. Episode 1 is titled The Kid from Seattle. Okay, so we open on Cindy Crawford. She's getting ready to do the classic Pepsi challenge. You guys know what a Pepsi challenge is?
No.
You
oh
don't?
yeah. Oh, I
I
remember.
have no idea.
I remember the Pepsi challenge, baby.
Okay.
They'd put up a can of Pepsi and a can of Coke, and they'd ask you, "What's the difference?" Now,
That's not how it worked at all. So
do you
what
mean?
they did is this. What they did is this. Let me explain it to you.
I see
What
you
they did
mean.
is this. They gave you 2 cups. One's marked nothing. The other one's marked nothing.
Okay, right.
And then you drink it and you decide which one you'd like better.
Right.
And then they say, well, that was Coke or
Right.
that was Pepsi.
Right.
So this ad campaign actually started in 1975. It's been around forever.
Oh.
The Cola Wars, if you didn't know, they've been brewing since the beginning of the 20th century. These companies started in like, I think 1898, Coke was first.
Is that back when Coke was in Coke?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Okay.
This is
winner,
Pemberton's
then.
Pemberton's formula, if I recall. There's a great doc you can check out on the History Channel. It's called something about the food wars or whatever. Campbell Scott hosts it, but they break down like, the beginning of these industrial titans that created like Pabst Blue Ribbon and Coke. So they did one on Coke. They did it on Domino's. It's a great series. The Food That Made America is what it's called.
Okay, I do remember this.
Yeah,
yes.
they started with the men who built America.
Right.
And then they did another.
The games that changed
The frontiersmen of America, the toys of America.
the toys that changed our lives or whatever.
Yep. So anyway,
Changed our
if you
childhood.
do want to go deep on this, you should check out the Coke episode. But, like I said, this thing's been going on for years, but they really ramped up in about 75. That's when they started the Pepsi Challenge. So
When did Pepsi start?
like 1900. It was just a couple years
Holy
after.
shit! Really?
Yeah, you might have to double check my work on Google that. But Coke started and immediately had a competitor. So
I didn't realize. But did Pepsi have Coke in it?
no, it did not. So while Dave's looking that up,
Well, this says 1965.
Pepsi that they started,
That's what it says.
Okay.
Pepsi co-founded in 1965.
that's not correct.
I'm looking though. I'll keep looking.
Okay, you keep looking because if I'm this incorrect on this, I shouldn't be doing this podcast.
Okay, actually, now it's saying introduced in 1893. What
Boom.
I was seeing was
Boom.
That's before
the corporation PepsiCo was founded
Right.
in 1965.
Okay.
But Pepsi was, yes.
The point is, this shit's been a part of America for
Yeah, over 100 years.
over 100 years. And they've been going back and forth. Who's better? What's the better drink? Personally, I'm a Coke guy.
Me too.
I'm a Coke guy. How about you, Dave?
Well, I grew up on Pepsi, but I am personally a Coke guy.
Okay. What about
I grew
you,
up with
Carly?
They're both disgusting. I've never
Funny
had a
you
full
should say that.
one of either. They're gross.
Okay. Funny you should say that because I'm going to get to that point in a second. So we start this thing and we open up on Cindy Crawford. She's getting ready to do the Pepsi challenge. So what they're doing is whenever they introduce a new character in this, they're like, they hand them the blind and they have to say which one's better. Because I don't want to dumb this down, it annoyed me. They do this with like every character that comes in the, interviewed. And I'm like, I'm not talking about that on the pod. So we're not going to go over who did what. It's boring.
Wait, what did Cindy choose? I'm
Well,
curious.
Cindy chose Pepsi. Okay. Yep. But the big ad from 1992 from the Super Bowl was Cindy Crawford she pulls up in a Lamborghini. It's like a red Lambo at this like country backwoods hillbilly gas station. Do you remember this commercial?
Nope.
How old were you guys
I
in
do,
92?
and then she goes up to the vending
Pepsi
machine.
and
Oh my god, I remember this.
yes. So
Yeah.
she gets the Pepsi.
She's like in the desert.
Well,
She's
yeah.
in like all white bottoms
White
and
top.
a yellow top.
No, white top, cut off jeans. So anyway,
I don't remember
she
this.
gets the Pepsi, and these two kids are like standing nearby on the fences, and they're like, "Wow, wow!" And then the kid says, "Wow, is that a great new Pepsi can or what?" I just got it after all these years. They're talking about her tits, right?
Obviously.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, no way.
Yeah. So
Damn.
Great new cans.
yeah. Well, see, he says can, not
says
plural.
can. Okay.
But
That's how they got past the censors.
Yeah, I connected it to her tits
Sure.
after rewatching it. Now, 1992, I was 17. Like I said, I missed the commercial. I don't remember where I was. I mean, I do, but I don't remember the commercial. So this, by the way, she still she says she gets 30 people a year on her Instagram that dress up as that character for Halloween.
Get out of here.
I dressed up as her as Halloween one time when I was in like 4th or 5th grade.
What
I
did
did not win the contest. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, well, she
That
also,
must have been a 90s Halloween costume
she
contest.
also recreated it recently for charity, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's
All right.
awesome.
So next, one of the main players in this documentary, his name's Todd Hoffman, and he takes the Pepsi challenge, and he says this. He says, they both taste like shit. Horrible. Can't stand that stuff. You want to know which one tastes better? Which shit tastes better? This shit or that shit? I don't know. It's shit to me. They both taste like shit. All right, what now?
Jesus, this guy.
This guy's
Sounds
cool.
about right. They're pretty gross.
What's
It's
his
just
role?
It's
Like-
sugar
So-
syrup.
We're gonna get to Todd. So
What does Todd look like?
Todd is, I would say, mid 60s. He kind of looks like a surfer dude. Pretty cool guy. Very, what do you call it? Salt to the earth. Very street smart.
Street smart.
He's been around the block.
Yeah.
Cool guy though. You know,
Got a
rides
couple VD venereal diseases, probably.
rides an
Just a
Indian
couple.
rides an Indian motorcycle.
Uh-huh.
You know, you see him cool. Anyway, kind of looks like Epstein's cousin.
Oh, jeez.
Which one's Epstein's cousin?
I don't know.
Do you really want to know? Is the question.
By the way, somebody just passed me a note to say that. They're very passionate about this, and I'm not going to say who it
Epstein's
was.
cousin.
So we might have to bring up Epstein's cousin and take a look. Anyway, I like Todd a lot. Now, here's the thing. He's going to be a major player in this story. So then Pepsi introduces the tale of John Leonard. Okay, that's what this doc's about. So in 95, this ad came out, and John Leonard is the one that got this whole story started because he is the young man that attempted to redeem Pepsi points for a Harrier jet that Pepsi had in a contest.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
Wow.
A jet
A
from
jet.
drinking sugar syrup.
Yeah.
Sugar water.
Doesn't matter if it's diet. Doesn't matter if it's Pepsi Crystal, Pepsi Free. You got points on a Pepsi, and you were able to put your points together. Now, we got to back up. They break down the 90s advertising. Do you remember these commercials like Yo Quiero Taco Bell?
Oh, yeah.
So
dude.
that was a big one. Macho Man Randy Savage. Snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh, yeah.
And then like the Budweiser Bud Bowl. You remember that?
And then Budweiser.
Oh, that's interesting you
frogs.
say that because my
I
buddy.
remember the frogs.
Yeah, my buddy was a frog.
Wow.
What?
You must have gotten paid.
He got
Wait, what?
He was one of not the frogs, the lizards. Remember when they spun off and did the lizards?
Oh,
and
maybe.
it'd be like, let it go, Louie, let it go.
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay, so he was a lizard. It was his first voiceover audition he ever had. He walked in, hungover, nailed the part, Super Bowl spot, turns into like a 4 or 5 year campaign. He would do gigs. He would call me and he'd be like, yeah, I'm doing Denver radio this week as the Budweiser Lizard. So first gig he ever went off.
That's an easy 140 to 150K.
Way more than
Yeah,
that.
how many
I'm just
royalties
saying.
do you
A
get from
year.
that? A year.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
get to
nice.
that. We'll get to that
For a
because
few
I have
years.
experience in this arena.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're not there yet. So next we meet Michael Patty. He's the former creative director of Pepsi. And then Jeff Mordos. He's the CEO of Pepsi. By the way, they refer to the CEO, Jeff, as the wolf. Okay. From Pulp Fiction. He's like the problem solver.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
So
Winston Wolf.
Michael says the style of the ads in the 90s was building up brands in the most intense way. He's the most boring guy I've ever seen in a documentary. So, according to them, they knew that Coke was the market leader, but Pepsi's strongest weapon was its advertising. So back to Michael Patty. I'm going to call him Michael the Drip. Okay.
Okay.
He says,
That's what I call my drug dealer, too.
So I worked with Madonna, Michael Jackson, Marlon Brando, Britney Spears. By the way, I call my drug dealer Instagram. I think it's a little bit better. He's that fast.
Idiot.
Anyway, Michael says,
Instagram. I just got it
I
like
know.
an idiot.
Michael says,
Oh, I get it. I get
take your
it.
time. Take your time. He says, I work with Madonna, Michael Jackson, Marlon Brando, Britney Spears. I'm not trying to name drop, but I'm absolutely name dropping. These are the people I worked with. And I'm like, so you're fucking name dropping.
Yeah, I don't mean to name drop Michael Jackson.
Just say you're name dropping and that you work with all these people and it didn't help you make yourself any cooler because you still sound like Michael the Drip.
He sounds like I gave Michael Jackson propofol.
Well, I actually did a Pepsi commercial myself.
Wow.
I have experience.
I never knew this about
I have
you.
experience in
So
the.
you're not a toad. You're a Pepsi.
No, what I here's the thing. In 2001, they did a big campaign with Britney Spears. And it was the one where she went through like the 50s, the
I do
60s.
remember this.
Wow. You're in the Pepsi
Yes.
generation.
Fuck
so
me.
I remember going out on this audition, and when I had my commercial agent at the time, they'd always say young, urban, hip, casual, and I'm like, okay, everybody says that. Give me more information.
You're like 6'4". How do you even make it into commercials? And
you know what they say.
He had short hair then. It was easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So the point is, I'm like, give me as much information. I'm nailing this Pepsi part. And he goes, well, they want you to play one of the Letterman. And I go, what's a Letterman?
Oh, yeah. Like a jock.
No, that's what I thought.
Oh.
So
No, you're going to hold like a Pepsi sign or something.
Oh, like a sign
It's going to be an
Letterman.
E
you
or
guys
a
are
P.
just striking out.
Wow.
They were a
really?
band, okay, from like the late 50s or early 60s. They were called the Letterman.
Before my time.
3 of them. Before my time. But here's what good actors do. They go out and they do the research.
Yeah.
So I went, I got online. This is back when you had to use dial-up.
Sure.
And I was probably at an internet cafe or something. And I see these guys, and I paid like a couple bucks to have them printed out. And it you know, they had the Letterman, but they were sweaters with buttons that went all the way down the shirt. So I went thrift
A
storing.
soch.
Yes, total Soch outsider.
Oh, so you're like one of those like singers type of people in
Correct.
the fancy dresses, like the acapella kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I get it now.
But not wearing a dress because I'm a guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I go out and I buy this Letterman sweater from the 20s. It was like the vintage ones.
Yeah.
And then
Nice.
I sewed on an S. You know, I found a letter. I sewed it on. I go in there.
Why not go with P for Pepsi?
They didn't have any P's. I think I just found an S.
Chris, come on.
I know. Anyway, I still have it. I wear it around every now and then.
You do not.
Yeah, I do.
I went to Stanford.
I expect this at Christmas. Okay.
It is Stanford maroon, by the way.
I figured. I pictured that.
Okay, so anyway, I go in, they have me sing, I nail it, then they're like, you're hired. Now, the shot at Sunset Gower, and they were like, it's a Super Bowl spot, and it was me and 2 other guys, and Joe Pica directed it. He's a very famous commercial director. He directed, if you've seen movies, Let It Ride with Richard Dreyfuss. Anyway, we are all freaking out because Brittany's on set.
Sure.
She's wearing those hot aqua pants and that
back.
pink top.
Oh God.
The guy that got
Beautiful.
diddled by Michael Jackson, the
The
choreographer,
lucky guy.
he was doing the choreography.
Sweet.
So, you know, they have this whole Pepsi's 1950s diner set built out.
Yeah.
And they're going through their dances.
Ed DeBebics.
At DeBevics, that's right. I forgot about that place.
Still around.
So we're getting paranoid because it's a 1-day shoot and we know we're not going into overtime because they're like, we have to wrap today, and they haven't shot us. So my 2 guys and I were in our dressing room and we're pacing for like 8 hours.
Sweater
Yeah.
was for nothing.
And I'm like, we are going to get our shitty day rate and we're not going to get paid for this because they're going to have to cut it. So like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to wrap, we get our call to get on set. So we get on set, we're in our Letterman things and whatnot, our jackets, and we've been practicing lip syncing this entire, you're in the Pepsi generation.
Oh my God. Yes.
And then Pepsi, for those that think young, something like that.
Yeah.
And we've got it down because we've been in this room for 7 hours. And then Joe Pica, he brings camera up to us, and he looked at me, and he's a harried old rat bastard, and he just looks like he hates his life. And he's got a cup of coffee, and he goes, look at this shit. And I go, what's that? And he goes, that coffee's dog shit. Why? I can't believe I got to drink dog shit coffee. And I go, it doesn't look good, Joe, Mr. Pitka.
It's not a Pepsi.
So anyway, they shot the shot. We did it in 2 takes tops. And then I got so lucky because we were the tagline, Pepsi. They cut me into like 10 different versions of the commercial.
Wait, with that high pitch of a voice, Pepsi.
They overdubbed my voice.
They got to dub over your
Right.
voice. They just
So-
needed a look.
So I was in the 2-minute version. I was in all like the 30-second spots, and it was the best payday I ever made in Hollywood.
Fuck yeah.
Damn,
And-
are you still getting royalties on that
No,
one?
it was a good run for about 3 years, though.
They're bringing Brittany back.
Well, maybe I can figure something out. But
Maybe
I
it'll
don't.
be in a movie.
Anyway,
one day.
I hate to go that far, but
No, that's
when
good.
it's related, you got to bring in the gems.
yeah. You were in a fucking Pepsi commercial, dude.
You can find it. It's the Super
With
Bowl
Britney
one.
Spears. It was a
2000
Super Bowl commercial. You were in a fucking Super Bowl commercial.
2000.
This was
2001.
before the crazy Britney too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You got,
Think
like,
of
you
how
got, like, the
many-
original
Listen to
Britney.
this. Brittany and I have the same therapist.
What?
I haven't told anybody that in a long time.
No wonder.
Yep. So, so
That all makes sense.
So yeah, one day this girl I was dating in the early 2000s, she's like, "Do you know that you and I have Brittany's same therapist?" And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Wait, you were dating a girl that had the same therapist as you and
yeah,
Brittany,
yeah, but we didn't know Brittany was involved.
but you knew each other was involved.
She got me into therapy. She was like, "If I'm going to date you, I got to unfuck your head. You're going to therapy."
Yeah, but you're not supposed to go to the same therapist as the person you're fucking.
Well, we did.
Oh, well, geez.
Okay.
No wonder.
Couples therapy, separate.
Anyway, yeah.
Together but separate. Okay.
So we had this therapy.
Separate but
whatnot.
better.
Anyway, then she called me a couple years ago when Brittany shaved her head, and she's like, Jesus, Brittany's got our shrink. And,
Really? You
I
had
wonder
a
if
good
Dr.
therapist.
Katz told her to do that.
So anyway, let me move on from that. So according to Jeff the Wolf, you remember him? He's the
Wolf.
He's the chief
Let's not start
operating-
sucking each other's dicks quite yet. That's my favorite line of any movie ever.
It's pretty good. So Jeff says people would have cut off a limb to work for Pepsi. They're launching the most famous ad campaign in the history of advertising, and they had to win the Cola Wars. So they come up with this big idea to put Coke on the defensive, and it was basically drink Pepsi, get crap, or as they say, stuff. So if you bought Pepsi, you get Pepsi points. And the idea was you cash the points in for Pepsi garb, like your T-shirts,
Nice.
hats.
Or it's like, I like to call it like marble miles for children.
Buddy,
Just encouraging people to drink massive amounts of sugar and get fatter than they already are.
So
Well, it worked for Marlboro.
speaking of Marlboro, I collected the Marlboro Adventure Team.
Oh,
It's probably
yeah.
before your time.
Yeah.
You get like
Well,
5.
I also don't smoke.
I had the watch.
Cigarette.
Okay.
Oh, man.
And then-
Dartboard, sleeping
You
bags,
got a
gun.
watch?
I
Yeah,
mean,
it was
I-
Swiss Army watch.
I would roll up to the Boy Scouts with all the gear, with the sleeping bag and the backpack and the cooking gear.
Yeah, you're
and
like,
the
boys,
grill.
let's go.
Let's go. My jacket was 0 degree below zero. Like,
It matched your Marlboro white van. Did you put him on the side of that too?
dude, my dad was a spokesman essentially.
Well, here's the thing. I had a buddy that was a garbage man.
Oh,
And that was a dream job if you wanted to get Marlboro miles.
Yeah, you could pick them all up from the trash.
I'm pretty sure my dad's friends.
But
that
you
had-
could have gotten Pepsi points then too.
He wasn't into it. He was a Marlboro guy.
Yeah. Well, my
Smoker, not
dad
a
used to receive. His friends used to just give it to him. So he got to a point where he was just getting Marlboro miles from everybody.
So he was such
I
a
mean,
smoker that his friends were like, "Here, you need them more than I do."
Just like because he knew he was collecting them, like people
Yeah.
didn't care, and then
Well,
we were getting all kinds of good shit.
Here's the thing. My garbage man guy, he was the guy that would show up at the party with the trench coat and be like, who wants a Marlboro watch? He had everything. So anyway, that's the whole thing of their campaign. Now, here's the thing. We see their original commercial, okay? A kid gets out of bed wearing a Pepsi shirt, and then it flashes up 80 Pepsi points. Then he throws on the Pepsi jacket, 1,200 Pepsi points.
I remember this.
Then he
dude.
See, I don't remember this. Then he throws on the sunglasses, 125
remember this at all.
Pepsi points. And
got-
now here's the big gag of the joke.
He gets.
Then you see this Harrier jet. Have you ever seen True Lies?
Oh yeah.
The Harrier jets, Carling, they're the ones that just go up and down like a helicopter or side to side.
like a hovercraft.
Yeah.
A jet. Yeah, it's a regular fighter jet, but it can take off.
It can
straight.
only go up and down,
no,
side to side.
No.
Do
It can-
whatever it
It can
wants.
take off straight.
It's a
up.
shapeshifter.
It can take
Also,
off.
it can just go
Yeah.
space.
Yes.
No.
Not to space.
It just the jet's face can turn, so they face down if you
Gotcha.
want to go up and down real quick. But then when you're ready to go supersonic speed straight ahead into Russia,
Right.
they turn the jets.
Slightly
You don't have to go to
sideways.
Russia, just so you know. You can go anywhere
You can
with
go
the
to
jet.
China too.
The
Why else
point
would-
is
Where
this.
else would you go?
So then we see this kid, and you hear this massive noise, and this huge cloud comes over these kids that are on the bench reading books, and then you see a shot
Just
of
like a suburban backyard.
no,
that this thing
it's
goes
a high
into?
school.
Oh,
And then
okay,
you see
okay,
like the
that's cool.
science teacher. He's just like, oh, what's going on? And all the
amazing.
papers are in the air. And then this kid drops down in the Harrier jet, not wearing a helmet, by the way. And then he says this,
Shame.
by the way, foreshadowing with that line I just dropped in there. Then he says, sure beats the bus. And then the tagline says, underneath it says Harrier jet, 7 million points.
Wow.
Okay. And then it says,
Wait, so you have to earn 7 million points of drinking Pepsi? You have
Yes.
to drink 7 million
Yeah.
Pepsis to get all these points?
Yes.
Is it 1 point a Pepsi?
we'll get into
We'll
that.
get into that, but I'm sure. But yes.
But it says the tagline is drink Pepsi, get stuff. Okay. So 20-year-old John Leonard out of Seattle sees this commercial and says, there's no fine print in this commercial. That's a legit offer. I don't care what anybody says. I'm getting that jet.
yeah.
All right. So one of the Pepsi suits, he says, the bottom of the video was clear. Here it is. The Harrier jet, 7 million points. It's clearly a joke. People don't offer military hardware as prizes. Well, these fucking morons did
Yeah.
because they didn't put a disclaimer at the bottom of it.
Yep. Lawyers.
Yep.
Oh, no.
So back to Todd. We talked about Todd. Well, Todd is John's mentor at the time. And John brings him a copy of the ad. And Todd says, you put this shit on the air, live by your word. You say it, you do it. So Jeff, the wolf, says hundreds of millions of people saw this ad. And there's one guy who thought this was a serious offer. It was ridiculous. So John took this seriously. And he was hugely like, this is before tons of internet. So cable media was all over the place.
We were talking about dial-up earlier. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
He's on the news. This is his 15 minutes of fame. Well, at the time, he was going to a small community college outside of Seattle. He says it wasn't Harvard, but I had big dreams, big aspirations. And what he wanted to do the most was climb mountains, which is kind of why I thought you'd be perfect for this show. Because I know.
Climber?
I got married at the base camp of Mount Everest, so yes.
Wow, that's cool.
He'd been climbing Alaska, South America, and he went on these little jaunts with Todd. Because, you know.
When you say this guy is his mentor,
Yeah.
what, like
20 to 40.
scamming?
No.
Looking for scams?
No,
or
in
looking
real
for-
life. Like
Yeah.
he met him as a climbing guy. John was a guide.
Oh, he's like his climbing mentor.
Oh,
Got
okay.
it. Okay.
Yeah, but he's
that was a
I thought he was
quick
like,
jump over that point.
Look, kid, we got to go into every
I know, I
single
was confused on
prize.
that too. I was like, where did
We gotta look into
this is why you guys are here.
If they're giving it away, we got to make sure we're getting those prizes.
The
Okay,
point
cool.
is,
getting that jet.
Todd's an
We
adventure.
don't have to climb.
John's an adventure. Well, that's how John sees it. He says, "Hey, this could be something, good for me.
Yeah.
I can go climb all these 7 peaks
Yeah.
that
Go
these
to
nerds
Cape
But I
do."
don't have to climb them. I could just
Yeah.
Herkimer down. What is
Yeah.
it? What is it? A Herkimer jet?
It's
A Herkimer jet.
Harrier.
Nah,
jet.
it's a Herkimer from now on.
Herkimer jet.
So anyway, we meet
Oh, I
John's
just
mom.
Herkimer in my pants right now.
we meet. Sounds like something the Swedish chef would eat. For,
Herkimer.
so we meet John's mom, Linda. She says John's a go-getter. He always had a
Matterhorn.
job.
Sorry.
Hey, yo.
He was a paper boy. He did delivered teriyaki. He washed windows. And then for some reason, she says, no, if only he was Harry Styles, I'd like it even better. And I'm just like, you were doing great.
Yeah.
Until you dropped Harry Styles. So anyway, John says.
By the way, my favorite Harry Styles is the one that's from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Is that his name?
That's Ryan Styles.
Damn it.
Yeah. Anyway,
close.
John says he was the target market for Pepsi. He says, I was the Pepsi generation. Pepsi associated with MTV. They had Shaq. They had Cindy Crawford. He says Coke had the polar bear.
Yeah.
My grandparents thought the polar bear was cool.
I remember the polar bear too.
Well, probably because you hung out with your
polar bear
grandparents.
was Coca-Cola.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
So Pepsi is doing jets. Coke's doing polar bears.
Yeah.
Okay,
They're the
I remember
PC.
this. I remember
Yeah.
the Polar Express with the
Yeah.
little the polar bear. It
Yeah.
was cute.
Every
It rolled
Christmas.
around and
Every
things. It
Christmas,
was
yeah.
darling.
Yeah, yeah.
I almost wanted
The
to drink
World
one, but I
Cup,
never
the
would.
Olympics. These
Yeah.
are things that we associate with Coke. But yeah, you know what? Pepsi did a really good job of like most people these days, when you've got two of essentially the same thing, people have like a pretty strong preference one way or the other.
Well-
in my opinion, I feel like Pepsi and Coke, most people don't really have a preference.
That's
I
what
couldn't tell
Dave
you the
Barry, the
difference for
famous
me.
humorist, says.
Like most people don't even give a fuck.
I
Like
could
when
do a
you
blind
go to a
taste test and
restaurant-
I'd have no idea the
I
difference.
will definitely be able to tell the difference in a blind taste test. However, like if I go to a restaurant and I'm like, oh, let me get a Pepsi,
Yeah.
and they go, oh, we only have Coke, or vice versa, I'm never like, oh, give me a Sprite then, or something like that. You know,
I love those people that are like, really, really,
Ugh,
and it's
okay.
like, hey,
I'll take a
People do
Dr.
that?
you're at a Pizza Hut. They're contractually obligated to Pepsi. If you want the shitty pizza, you're gonna
Yeah.
get the
You're
shitty
gonna
soda,
get the shitty
or
soda.
just bring one in your fucking pocket if it matters to you that much.
Every once in a while, you will see a Pepsi and a Coke at a single fountain drink.
What?
but not at a chain of restaurants.
Not at a chain, most likely.
right? But
Wait,
like
that's
at a
a thing?
7-Eleven.
A chain is
Not a
dedicated to one versus the
Of
other.
course.
Usually they
What?
Taco
I'm not
Bell-
a soda drinker. I don't
Taco
drink
Bell,
soda.
KFC, those are all Pepsi. All right, Coke is McDonald's. You can't get a Pepsi at McDonald's.
I don't
Like,
think I could even tell the
contract.
Sprite between Pepsi, Cola, or Sprite.
You can't tell the difference between Pepsi and Coke or Sprite.
Yeah.
Sprite, you'll
I
be
wouldn't be
able-
able to tell the
you'll be able
difference.
to
If I
tell.
could see them, yes,
One's
obviously.
lemon. One's
I was gonna say,
lemon.
what are you, Helen Keller?
But if I
Sure.
if I couldn't see it, I'd have no idea the difference.
Speaking of
Could Helen Keller not taste anything either?
No, I mean her
that's- she's
taste
just
buds.
blind.
She probably
Okay.
had
And
super
deaf.
tasting powers,
well, that's
actually,
true.
Right.
and super smelling powers.
Right.
She probably
But-
could tell the difference,
but-
like down to where it was made.
Very real quick, Helen Keller,
Yeah.
pretty big place. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Anne Frank. Anne Frank, pretty big place. Her place wasn't tiny.
Oh, you sounded
No,
like
wait,
she's
it's
got her
pretty
own
small.
city.
I've been there. It's small.
It's not that small.
It's as big as this room.
Anne Frank's it's pretty good.
There
little
was like
joint.
10 people living in there, and they had to make zero
come
noise.
on. Okay, it's a good
Zero
point.
noise.
All right, let's
Back
get
when
off
women
this.
had to wear
Let's
heels.
All right, let's get back to this. So
was my
remember,
fault.
it's 7
Ellen
million.
Keller was it was blind and deaf.
Yeah, you ever seen The Miracle
Yeah, okay.
Worker and
I-
Bancroft,
She
Patty
helped
Duke?
build ASL.
Braille. Oh,
No,
Braille.
Braille.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she helped build ASL.
Oh my God, I'm a teacher. I should know these things.
Okay. So anyway, let's get back to the Pepsi. It's 7 million points for this jet. John says no fine print came up, and he says, wow, that's something. So he starts running the math on this. He figures that a Harrier jet would cost $30 million to $32 million.
They never said it was working though.
Well, we'll get to that. His immediate thought was
Details.
you could probably get those 7 million Pepsi points for a whole lot less. He says, I saw this as an opportunity. That's a key word for me. He says, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
A legitimate opportunity to change my world. My mind couldn't stop racing to try and figure out how to make this happen. I was continually trying to crunch numbers and come up with cost estimations. How much Pepsi would it take? How many bottles do I have to buy? And at night, he would think about this laying in bed.
The
and of
90s
course,
were great,
They do these
man.
recreations, and there's like
Yeah.
a Sidney Crawford poster over his bed.
Yeah, there is.
So
So how old is this? Now,
He's 20.
Explain what does this guy look like?
normal
Wiry,
guy.
stringy,
Not
skinny.
just a normal
I
guy.
imagine
Fine.
him
Good-looking
looking
guy.
like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah,
Kind of kid.
yeah,
Just like
just
a
a regular
normal
guy.
average.
Yeah, I mean
Okay, cool.
he's not fucking 4 feet tall. He's climbing mountains.
Normal dude.
Yeah. So
Wait, how old is he? He's like
20.
20 and he's climbing mountains? That's not a normal thing. He's
Well,
not a
hell,
normal
It's
Joe.
the 90s. People got out more.
Fair. There wasn't really the internet.
There
I
was
get-
the
I get
internet.
that.
There was some
Oh, yeah.
video games. The
All right.
Super
Sega.
Famicom was making its way through Japan at the time.
all right, so let's get to it. He says, I'm up against the clock. He said, I had a sense of urgency to make this happen. He says, I was doing everything I could do to make it as cheap as I could. He's cutting coupons, the whole deal.
Yeah.
And then his mom says they're drinking Pepsi around the clock.
Well,
nonstop.
yeah.
They're hauling it in by the truckload. She says it took a week before we realized we just couldn't drink that much.
Wait, how are
Pepsi.
they paying for all this Pepsi? It's a kid.
Yeah.
The kid is buying this Pepsi
buying
on his
Pepsi.
parents' dollar?
Yep.
So wow. Okay.
That's-
He's a
So
paper
much.
boy. He's got money coming in.
I mean, if you're spending $500 a month,
Well, here, I'll
Wait,
break.
how much was a Pepsi?
Hey, ding
back
dongs,
then?
if you shut up, I'll just tell you how much it would cost him
Let's
because
go.
he ran the math.
let's do it.
Okay, so he runs the
Like
math. All right. He says, there was one person I knew that could help me out with this. Okay. It's his climbing mentor, Todd. All right.
Back to Todd.
Yep.
Wolf.
Yep. No, not the wolf.
No.
The wolf
That's
is
Frank.
the Pepsi suit. That's Jeff.
Jeff, I mean.
Okay.
Sorry.
These
So-
names
Names,
are
I
so
know.
generic, it's hard to keep track.
You're
All
lucky. You came in episode 17. Every single episode before this, the names were most likely fake and made up.
Let's
if you
just
ask
go
me.
back to Todd because I want to reintroduce you to him. We see him on a motor, on a chopper. He's driving through looks like Wyoming, Montana, but he's cool. And he says, I live in the moment. I enjoy the moment. There's so many beautiful things you can appreciate. All you got to do is open your eyes. I got a little pond out here stocked with trout, but I won't tell you my address so you don't steal all my fucking trout. All right? You have to be spontaneous in life.
It's not the Pepsi, it's the trout he's worried about.
If you're wrong 5 out of 100 times, so what? You had 95 great adventures. 5 times you fall on your head, you got stitches, got a broken leg. You would have missed the whole thing. You didn't take the opportunity. So he's this adventurer, like I was telling you. He got into climbing at a young age as well. Now, here's the thing. He gets sick in 1992, and he gets a brain tumor.
Oh,
And
What?
that
yep,
doesn't
the
sound like
healthy
getting
ones.
sick.
well,
It's the healthy
he
people.
gets it removed.
Oh.
And then the doctors tell him, you probably shouldn't climb anymore. And he said,
Why?
well, because he's got a brain tumor in his head. They just cut it out.
All the more reason to exercise.
Okay. Well, they're saying maybe with altitude sickness, might not be the safest thing.
Well,
for
maybe if you climb right, you won't get
can-
altitude sickness, but whatever.
Well,
You can go back to rock climbing, but if you cough, you
He's not a
might
rock climber.
open your head up
he's
again.
He's an alpinist.
I'm just saying. Oh, he's an alpinist. Okay.
I'll Pepsiist.
Okay. So this is the part that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because they do these recreations. And John's in one of those outdoor water tanks that like horses drink out of.
Yep. Trough.
Trough.
Trough,
He's in a
yeah.
trough. He's laying in a trough. and he's got a bandage on his head with blood leaking out of it. And then, of course, his buddy calls him up. John calls him up.
So this is after he's had the brain tumor removed.
Yep.
He's in like a cold
Like a bath.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, now keep in mind, this documentary intercuts between them telling the story with Todd and John climbing mountains.
Cool.
Okay? So they show him doing the Mount Denali in Alaska. What is that, the biggest one on our continent? Mount
No.
Denali?
Yes.
Is
think
it
it
really?
is.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
On North America.
So Rainier's what? Number 3 then?
Who gives a fuck, Dave?
Okay, that's-
All we need to
it's
know
good-
is
very good
Denali's
point.
the top.
It's a very good point.
Well, Mount Whitney's up there too. And that's in California.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Where the aliens live, by the way, if you ask me.
okay, I didn't. So here's the thing. So John feels like he can pitch this idea to Todd because Todd's a free spirit. They climb. Todd's
Pitch the idea of we're just gonna buy all these Pepsi's things.
well, I'll get there.
Yeah,
I'm getting to the idea pitch.
mean-
So
Sounds like they're looking for investors.
yes, exactly. He needs an investor to pull this off. So he shows him the commercial, and Todd's like, "Play it back." Johnny plays it back. He's like, "Play it back." John plays it back. He's like, "Play it back." This goes on for like 90 times, and he goes, "I can't believe what I'm seeing." There's no disclaimer.
No
at the End of this.
disclaimer.
Wait, I have a question.
dude.
How do Johnny and Todd meet each other?
Climbing.
But Johnny's like 12.
20. John's 20, 40.
What?
20 and 40. John's 20, Todd's 40.
God, okay.
The
Okay.
the mountains don't see age.
I was trying to figure out this math and I
All
was
right.
confused. I
So
got it now.
Todd says this is false advertising. And he says, "John, if you want to do this, put a business plan together and I'll help you." So John,
Okay, wait, hold on. When you say,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When you say false advertising, does this mean that they have already tried to speak with somebody? And
No.
say, okay.
he said, "Put a business
Uh,
plan together."
well,
and
There's
I'll
yeah.
do
just
this."
no disclaimer on how
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, it would be false
you could
advertising
buy.
if they. Okay, got it.
Okay. So John gets his business plan together.
Wait, why are they making a business plan?
Because
Because
they
you
got to go
can't.
on investors.
You got to
How
get.
much does Pepsi cost at this point in time? 5 cents a can?
No,
What
no,
is
no.
this? 1920?
No, no,
when
no,
did
no.
Pepsi ever cost 5 cents
No,
a can
couple
in
I
your
don't know.
lifetime?
I've never bought Pepsi.
It's a couple bucks.
It's
A buck?
yeah. It's at
Yeah,
least
a
$1.
dollar a can, $2 for
I mean,
a
it
bottle.
can't be much more than a buck.
All right,
A
let me-
soda now is like $3.
Okay, let me break down the math. John does the math. He figures it out, and he says it's going to cost us $4.3 million to get
Hell
7 million points.
Yeah,
Damn.
baby.
Okay, to answer your question,
And
Carmen,
you're going to 10x your money.
each 12 pack was worth 5 points. So he says, I needed to buy 1.4 million 12 packs to get to 7 million points. That's over 16 million cans of Pepsi. So
Who's drinking all this Pepsi?
you're not drinking it. You're just
Yeah, you're
getting
just-
it for
you're
the
just buying
points.
it.
Just
getting-
wasting those resources?
No, you
No.
give it to
You could be feeding children in Africa with Pepsi
when
water.
you
I would
fly
make
your
a
carrot.
Pepsi bathtub or a Pepsi swimming pool.
Well, when you
you would
fly
just corrode everything.
when you fly your Harrier jet to K2, you can give all that Pepsi to the starving African children over there.
All right, let me give you some more numbers.
Kilimanjaro for your non-climbers.
Wait, I was like, but K2 is not in Africa.
I thought Kilimanjaro was in Africa.
Kilimanjaro is, but K2 is not Kilimanjaro.
Hey,
Hold on, K2's not Kilimanjaro.
No, it's in Nepal.
It's in
Oh,
Nepal.
fuck me.
It's not far off from the mountain that I climb.
Hell yeah, I didn't know that.
All right,
That's
back,
good to know.
Back
Fun
to the
fact.
math. 1.4 million 12 packs of Pepsi would take almost 600,000 cubic feet of storage space. So his plan is
Oh my god, yeah, what does it do with all the Pepsi?
he's going to get 6 major metropolitan areas, 6 separate warehouses, and enough people to work at all these warehouses.
What are the workers doing?
I'm going to tell you. They're going to go out and buy Pepsi. They're going to load it. They're going to cut the little labels off the cans. He's factored this in. He says it's
Go
going
to
to
the
take
vending machine, people.
He says 45 people is what it's going to take. And he says, I'm going to contract labor ready in these other markets. By the way, don't ever contract labor ready for any work. They show up drunk or stoned, or they'll show up and they'll be like, I'm not touching this.
I
They're
imagine
fucking-
this is like
Wait,
an
where
Amazon
can I get-
warehouse
where
of
can
just
I-
people.
I'm not
churning
going to
through
hire
this.
any, but where can I get a job as one of those people? Where I can get drunk and high and go make money.
labor ready. Yeah. So
But then you have to do labor. You realize that.
Parangana
John-
Kutiri Mikwado.
Todd says, John, you're crazy. This is insane. John says, well, I'm going to figure out a way to make it work. And Todd says, well, I'm going to throw out some pitfalls for you and ask you the hard questions. And
Wait,
he says,
what? Question.
yeah,
They're 20 years old. Where do they have the money for this?
John, He's got the money.
Where does he have the money?
We're getting investors.
If
right
he's
now.
riding a motorcycle and climbing Everest, he's got money. All right. He was a
But
businessman.
he's 20.
No.
There's not Instagram.
Todd has money.
Todd's 20.
No.
Todd's 40.
Todd's 40.
Todd's 40.
Okay. Todd's been
How
in
did Todd get his money?
automobiles, real estate. He's been around the block. He's got
So he
the
did it the
cash.
real way.
He's grizzled.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So here's the legitimate question that Todd poses. He says, if someone could not buy a Harrier jet, then on the face of the offer, it was not legitimate. And that's when I started to reach out to folks at the Pentagon. So John calls the Pentagon and says, yes,
Get the
you
government
could,
involved.
you could
Great idea.
legally own a Harrier jet as long as it didn't have the armaments on it or the radar jamming. But
That's not in the fine print, though.
right, but the guy at the Pentagon says they're $32 million a piece, but you have to buy a minimum of 6. Okay?
Oh, now we're talking some real FU money.
So here's the thing. They figure
That's $54 million.
out
No,
it's a
that's
lot
way
more
more
than
than
that.
$540 million.
Yeah, 30 times 6.
180. Just call it 180 million. Don't worry.
Wait, I thought it was-
Carling, I'll do the math on the show.
I thought
30 million times
32
6.
a piece.
32 million times
Put your
6.
little fingers down. I already solved it. We're going to call it 190
the
million
finger
just to be safe.
man.
All right. So,
no, I heard a 9 in there somewhere.
all right.
Sorry.
So the point is this. Todd says, all right, so you get the Harrier jet. What are you going to do with it, John? And he goes, are we selling it right away? Because if we're going to sell it right away, it's going to look like we're trying to smash and grab Pepsi. What do you want
Well,
to do with this?
Well, hold on.
There's no fine print. You can smash and grab.
I don't see anything wrong with smash and grabbing, by the way.
These are very good points, but it's a legitimate question he raises. And
Okay,
then
it's good.
John says,
Crossing his T's.
we're going to take people on rides. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now, keep in mind, there's a cockpit of one person.
Okay, so we ain't taking
You
anybody
go
on
up and
rides.
you can go down.
So then John says, don't worry about it. We'll do air shows. So Todd's like, we'll do air shows. We'll rent it to movies.
Yeah,
This is a viable business plan.
Yeah.
So then he says, well, what happens if you get like 6,995,000 points and you can't find any more points? And then John's like, this is a bad idea. You know, we can't.
that was a bad
I mean,
idea.
these are good questions.
Yep. So he's pretty deflated. He's kind of given up at this point.
Good
so
questions.
John goes
There's other
back.
states.
John goes back to washing windows. You know?
Wait. Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. John's a window washer.
Yeah.
What is Todd doing for his?
Todd's like,
He's you said real
wealthy.
estate in
yeah.
auto.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't have the money to put up, he knows other wealthy people,
Exactly.
it seems like.
It sounds like he might have some
He,
connection.
he has some savviness to him, it seems
The
like.
point is, mission's off.
Mission's off. Back to
Right.
washing windows
Bummer.
and delivering
Summer.
papers.
So after a long, hard day of work, John walks into a convenience store one night and he turns the corner and what does he see? The big
Double time Pepsi.
What?
Double time Pepsi.
Double time?
Double time points.
Double the points, baby.
Double thing. You can double your points.
Nope, that's not what he saw, but I like the way you think there's something called double time points.
Double time.
Hey! Double time points by a Diet Pepsi.
All right, so what does he see?
It's diet.
He
It's double.
sees the point of purchase display
Oh,
cardboard thing
Uh-huh.
where you get your actual pamphlet for the catalog
Right.
to get your hoodie,
Yeah.
to get your shirt,
Right.
to get your aviator sunglasses. There's no
You
Harrier
need those
jet.
aviators.
There's no
There's no-
Harrier.
but he
There's
looks
no
at
Harrier
it.
jets.
He looks at it and reads some fine print, and it says, "Well, if you don't have enough Pepsi points because you want your jacket, you can buy an extra Pepsi point for 10 cents a piece."
So now he's
Wait,
realizing.
wait. What was the math on how much a
4.3 million. That was his initial estimate.
but per
yeah.
Pepsi, how much was it?
I don't know.
Oh God, you need to do more math.
But this just went down from 700
yeah,
million. This just went down from 3 million
4.3 million.
to 4.3 million to about probably $700,000.
You nailed it
Yes.
on the nose.
Yeah, dude.
Dude,
Holy
how about that
shit.
for the math,
way to
Dave?
math in your mind. Good
Well,
job.
Fucking
It's-
Goodwill Hunting over here.
It's literally
Oh, yes.
it's literally 10 like zeros and 10s.
Yeah.
Very simple math.
So he goes from
People.
4.3 million to 700K.
Holy shit, that is so doable.
Todd's
now.
like, we found a loophole.
how can there?
There's some meat and potatoes in
So
here.
How do their lawyers
Back.
not figure this out? Every single lawyer at Pepsi needs to
We
be.
are going to get
Back
to all
in
of this.
it.
All right.
He is
back,
in it.
back in the game.
Yes, John, let's go.
Whoa, Bundy.
All right. So he was like, Todd says, we got to think about this seriously now. And Todd says, when I write this check, somebody at Pepsi's going to see this check and someone's going to go, who wrote that check? And they're
Yeah.
going to go, oh, it was a guy named Todd Hoffman. And I'm like, that made me nervous because I always flew under the radar.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, maybe Todd wasn't doing fucking legit
Yeah.
work. Maybe he
Yeah.
was dealing coke.
I don't need the IRS on my ass.
Especially
is what
if you're
he's
climbing
saying.
mountains and that's how you think you're making your money.
Yeah,
If you're
it's not
flying
an
under the radar, you're not climbing big mountains.
My point is, if you're climbing K2 or Everest, it's not a cheap hobby.
No.
Okay?
So it's not the letter K and the number 2?
Yeah,
It's
it is.
Oh,
It
okay.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought, okay.
All right.
It is only known as K2. That's not
Interesting.
acronym or
Interesting.
anything. for
Todd
something.
says, fuck them. I'm writing the check and I'm sending it in. And here we go. We're on our adventure. They never figured out there'd be a John Leonard. And secondly, if there was a John Leonard, they never figured out there'd be a Todd Hoffman. Bring it on, Pepsi.
Dude, I love this guy.
Wait.
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot my question.
that's okay. So one of the Pepsi suits says, when something comes up like this and legal, we just call them up and they'll kill it. So Pepsi,
Wait, I remember my question.
yeah,
Why didn't Todd just say, fuck John, I'm going to do this on my own?
because he's not a piece of shit.
The guy- Oh, why isn't Todd saying that?
Yeah, he's not a piece of shit. He's a mentor.
He's a fucking, yeah.
I
he
get
li-
why
he
John
likes his
doesn't,
kid.
because John's a kid and he doesn't have a $700,000 check to just write.
Right.
Maybe
For all we know,
Here's the
Todd
thing.
put some subliminal messages in the kid's head to make him want the Harrier jet.
And now we're getting too far off into
Okay.
conspiracy land.
Okay.
Here's the thing. There are nice people in this world. I'm
Yeah.
one of those people. If somebody comes to me and says, hey,
You
can you
are.
teach me how to do something? I'm like, yeah, here's what you do.
Can you teach me how to Dougie?
To doggy?
Dougie.
Dougie.
What's Dougie?
I don't know either.
It's a song. It's a
Okay.
Things
rap.
my kids tell
It's
me.
one of those rap
Is that like the
songs.
kids flossing?
Teach
It's
me
like,
how to
yeah, one of
Dougie.
those thingies.
Okay. No, but I can teach you how to doggy. But I need some permission from one of my good friends.
Dougie Jones.
So, anywho, so Pepsi puts legal on this, and they say it was one person that thought this, and that one person, that's pure insanity. So that's how episode 1 ends. So episode 2, titled "Let's Make a Deal." Okay, we open up with John and Todd. Now they're in Antarctica now. And like I told you before, they climb. They're into this like 7 peak shit.
Yeah.
So
There are no bugs in Antarctica. Did you guys know this?
I did
Zero.
not. Makes sense though.
0 bugs.
Well,
Okay.
that was the thing at Burning Man until recently. The humans brought the bugs.
No way. I was there a couple years ago and there was a praying mantis. It just landed on
Buddy,
my friend.
buddy, there's
mid-trip.
bugs at Burning Man. If I pull down some of that
Oh,
bush
this is true.
dressed up,
Definitely some crabs.
Scabies doesn't
yeah,
count.
sure.
yeah, Burning Man isn't immune to
I'm just saying because of the dusty plateau,
crabs.
there weren't a lot of
You're
wasn't
right.
a
There
lot
were
of
no
animal.
bugs on the
But yeah,
on the playa before, but we
Yeah.
brought the bugs to the playa.
exactly.
Okay, so guys, they're in Antarctica where there's no bugs, and they're climbing what mountain? The highest mountain? Do you know it,
Jill-
Carling?
Mount Vincent.
Vincent.
Mount
I think it's
Vincent.
Vince.
Mount Vincent, the highest peak in Antarctica.
Vincent or something like
At
that. Yeah.
4,892 meters or 16,050 feet.
That sounds
Everest-
kind of weak.
That's
Everest,
chump change.
Everest, for perspective, is 26,000
Yeah.
and change, I
I was
believe.
gonna say,
Mount Whitney is like 14,000. That's here in California.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mount Ararat in Armenia is 18,000, I think.
Ararat.
Yes.
Anyhow,
Different day.
okay, so John and Todd, they're on the mountain.
40 and 20 on the
We're,
mountain.
we're in present day. They're climbing this mountain. And, John says, had it not been for the Pepsi case, would we be here together? Maybe we would have got here sooner.
But I thought they climbed before the Pepsi.
They did, but not Mount Vincent.
That's the mount that they go for after all their.
They've got to do
Sugar
all
running?
seven.
They're trying to do all 7.
They're doing all 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait,
They're
I
like
missed that.
the-
Where
yeah.
did I miss that?
Anyway, the way they tie it in is they say the Pepsi story was another mountain we were trying to climb. So you see what the production's doing
They
here.
bought all the
right.
Pepsi.
All right.
They climbed it all
All right,
up.
so
and
back
they
to the
climbed-
story.
Oh, I get it.
Okay. According to Todd, in the catalog, there were 5 boxes to check. You got your T-shirt, remember? What else you get? Your backpack or some
Sweater,
shit.
aviators.
Right?
Your
But
lunchbox.
There wasn't a Harrier jet
Nope,
box.
wasn't on there. Wasn't
So-
in the fine print either.
So
your Swedish dick enlarger.
what's it called again? The
I don't know.
Cormacon?
I don't remember.
All right. So anyway, they drew in their own box, wrote in Harrier jet, included shipping and handling.
Yo, you want your cock to look the size of a Pepsi can? Order our dick enlarger. Sorry, guys. I needed to get that out there.
He's just so you know, Carling, he's gonna
a great
bomb.
joke.
He's good. That's
Great
not.
joke.
It's not a good joke.
Beautiful.
He's gonna bomb really
don't
hard
reward me.
every episode.
I
Do
snorted
not
on that
encourage
one.
him.
Don't
Okay.
reward me. All right, let's go.
Anyway, he's like, pretty good deal. We're getting a Harrier jet delivered to our door for $10. So again, we go back to what is the motive here? Well, John says it's an opportunity to get a jet and create a business. It was a big dream, perhaps an unrealistic one, but it was an all-consuming dream. So they find.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
There's no fine print on a write-in for what you could win?
Well, that's what they're. This
That's
is what they meticulously.
That's what they're going to
and-
find out.
Yes.
They're going for it.
They're going for it. They checked all their boxes. They looked at the
They
commercial.
checked their
How many
own
times?
box.
Yeah, how many times did they look at the commercial?
90.
90 times they looked at
Yep.
the commercial. Then they went to look at the boxes and like, oh, all the boxes are matching now.
Fishing
Right
on,
in.
fishing on. So they send this off to a little town called Young America, Minnesota. That's the name of the town.
That's the name of the town.
That's a real name.
Young
so
America.
It's made in
What is
Young
this,
America.
Bowie? She was the young American.
There we
so
go.
anyway, Todd says this though. You can't just go drop it off because what if it gets lost in the mail?
Yeah.
So Todd, he lives in Miami. He says, I'm going to send a
Certified.
paralegal with you and this check, $700,000, but you have to make sure it gets in the post office box. So he gets there on a Saturday and it's closed. He didn't think this through. So then,
Wait, hold on.
yeah,
He's sending a paralegal to put it in a post office box?
with John. Would you give a 20-year-old kid a check for $700,000 without a little
No,
security?
I wouldn't give a paralegal a $700,000
They're
check
worse
either.
than kids?
I take it my own
Well,
myself.
Todd's
If I have that kind of money to give, why not take it yourself? Like I'm gonna take
Because
a
when you have
trip
money-
to Young
He
America.
may not
'cause
be
it's
allowed at the
exciting.
post office. Is what we're trying to find out.
Ding
I
dong.
think.
Can I explain something to you? And I say ding dong with nothing but love and respect.
Tweedledee, go for it.
When you have his money, you don't do this kind of work because you have millions. You
true.
send people to do this shit work for you. So then you can go ride your Harley or hang out on Mount Vincent and put your fucking flag in the ground, whatever.
Or go
You're not
climb K2, whatever. Okay,
Exactly.
fine. I get it.
So
But still,
this
okay,
is,
go on.
they get there on a Saturday, there's nobody there, but then they hear somebody in the back and they knock on the door, post office.
Who's that rustling around in the dark?
It's like a mailboxes express. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then this is actually the fulfillment center for not just Pepsi points, but they handle Camel Bucks, Marlboro miles like we were talking
My
about.
boys, the barber
There you
boys.
Dude,
go.
Boys right there, dude.
There you go.
Wonder how many dartboards they got back there.
So
Dave's
anyway,
Still got that knife cooking set.
it's
Yes, he
now
does.
March.
And the sweater.
It's now March 28, 1996, 6 months after the commercial aired. Okay. So, Michael, remember Michael the Drip, the one that's in creative, that
Yeah.
talks like this?
Bro
and thinks
Patel.
he's
Oh,
John
yes,
Hamm
yes,
from
yes,
Mad Men.
yes.
He says today I heard about John Leonard claiming that the wolf walks into my office. You
We
know,
got a problem.
he says, Wolf, we got a problem. And the wolf says, what made this so really preposterous was that his assistant called and said, somebody sent us a check and it's for
Fuck
$700,000
me.
for the jet.
This is where they fucked up. I already was thinking about this, but I'll let you continue.
Thank you. I can do my job?
You can.
Okay.
Yes.
So he says, someone's pulling our leg. Okay. You
Oh
got-
yeah, somebody's pulling our leg.
Oh, it's not. They
This
think
check
it's not a
won't
real
clear.
check.
Oh, that's
first.
amazing too. You won't know if the check's good until you cash it. Once you
Right.
cash
Wait,
it,
hold on, so-
you're fucked.
Josh and Todd never
There's
even
no
made
Josh.
it. Who's the other kid?
Todd
John.
and John.
John. Oh, sorry. My bad. Whatever. Same generic name.
Okay.
Although it is John is my dad's name, so I should remember that
Isn't
one. But whatever.
Joshua? Joshua's a biblical name. So is John.
They all are,
Yeah.
Dave. Even Dave.
Yes.
Anyways, John
Mm-hmm.
and Todd don't
Yeah.
make it on the radar at any point when they're buying thousands and thousands and thousands of
Well,
Pepsis.
that much.
'Kay,
They
remember-
probably only wanted a couple. That was
They
was
don't
just
make it on the radar
that
for
was
that,
just-
alone.
that was paper. That was
like
paper
you don't
route
make it on
money.
KPCC
That
or
was
like
nothing. That was
Okay,
nothing.
Let me back up.
ABC, KRW.
Let me back up. All they did was this. John was buying Pepsi points, and his mom says, you got to stop. They probably spent a couple $1,000s tops. No, they haven't made press.
Yeah.
At this point.
Okay, the
It's
kid's
a
just climbing
negligible
Everest,
amount.
but he's like, mom's like, no.
No.
No
I you know
Pepsi
what?
for you.
You know, this guy is a climber because you got to be smart when you're a climber. You got to plan your shit out.
Yeah,
This
you're-
Yeah.
it's called your route.
your route. Your
Yeah.
route. Ruads.
Roads.
Roots. No.
I think it's called a trail.
That's a
but
black
alright,
sheep
cool.
reference
sheep,
for
yeah.
those people out there.
Chris Farley and
Road.
David Spade's best movie together. Okay, anyway, hold on. So much like planning a route on a mountain, this
Yes.
guy was like, no. We're gonna go straight from this chump change bullshit to the real deal. I ain't buying no more points unless we put a real plan
Okay,
forward.
so they were like 2,000 points in, like chump change,
Yeah, chump change
Midwest.
shit.
I'm just buying soda for my family
Like
kind
how
of
you-
thing.
You got a jacket.
Yeah.
You got a cool
Oh,
jacket. out of
okay.
it.
And then they're like, oh no, we're going
No,
big
we're
time.
going big
We're going
time.
Herkimer.
Yeah,
jet.
we're going Herkimer. That's right, Herkimer jet.
All right, so back to Michael. He says, I just wanted to go
This will be
away.
titled Herkimer jet.
He's
Sorry,
like,
go.
will you just let it go away? I'm creative. I don't want this intruding my work because I had to win the Cola Wars. Jeff the Wolf says, we needed to win the Cola Wars. And then out of nowhere, we got this kid to deal with. Now there's another suit. I'm just going to call him Brian the Suit. He says, I mean, I think he saw a clever opening. You got to give him credit for that.
Sure.
But clearly it's a joke. You know, Michael the Drip, did he really want it? Or did he want some sort of settlement, so many millions of dollars? According to Jeff the Wolf, there was no doubt in his mind that it was a money grab. Okay. No
How
one.
much money is he willing to give them?
Well, millions of dollars at this point.
He says, I'm giving you $700,000.
And they're in
Give
this-
me the $32 million jet.
yeah.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
like, okay, but see, yeah, okay, so this
Wow.
is this is their meeting. They got the money.
There's
they
no
don't-
meeting yet.
No. Oh well,
This is inside Pepsi headquarters.
got it. That's what I'm saying. This is
So
like,
at the very
no,
least,
no.
they're like settling for like, cool, 10 million.
Yeah,
It's
they're
chill.
talking-
Like, let's
they're
just
talking-
pay off. It's
yeah.
cool.
I
They're-
could just tell the story and tell you what happens.
Oh, God. Well, it's not as exciting.
Okay. So they say we can't entertain this because it will just open other people to do the same shit. That's Pepsi's position.
Well, put in some damn fine print.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay, sorry.
So,
I'm excited.
so I can tell.
I want
right.
to ride this fucking Harrier jet, dude. We need to go right now and get a Harrier jet.
I
is what we
know,
need-
right? Dave, let's go buy some Pepsi. Let's go.
So here's Pepsi. The Wolf says someone, and it might have been Michael, said, hey, why don't we just keep the $700,000 and we'll send him a model of the commercial of the jet, which I thought was a cool idea. And I'm like, yeah, of course you guys would think of this because you're scumbags.
Yeah.
So
Like life-size model or like floor-size model?
like make it out of cardboard. Who gives a fuck?
lame.
That would have been the best thing.
Well, Todd
honestly.
says they could have done something like that. And our next step would have been that's not a Harrier jet because it didn't say mock-up Harrier jet.
Fuck my
Okay?
life. You're
It
right.
said Harrier jet,
Yeah.
7 million points. So now it's May of 1996. And then one day a letter comes in the mail to John. You know, he's been waiting for this. And he's like closing his eyes when he's opening it.
Oh.
And then Todd says, what a dream to be riding in a Harrier jet. I couldn't wait for the first ride.
He wanted that fucking jet, dude.
Yep.
He really wanted it.
Yep.
He didn't care about the money.
Do you want to hear what the letter says?
Let's hear it.
The letter says this, John, thanks for the effort. Ha, ha, ha. It was meant to be a joke. For your troubles, here's 2 coupons for 2 cases of Pepsi.
No, okay, wait. What? He's originally offering them millions, and he's like, no, too cool Pepsi.
But they didn't cash the check.
They didn't cash the check. Pepsi decided not to cash the check. So John says it was kind of a jackass blow-off move. Okay? Here's 2 cases of Pepsi for all your trouble after I raised $700,000, which is, by the way, I don't give a fuck if you raise $700,000.
Chump
You know,
change.
they don't care.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's like, all right, if that's how you want to play this, let's go.
Yeah.
Todd, I was pissed off, but I'll tell you one thing. Our next step has to be perfect. These guys are
Wow.
sophisticated.
Fuck yeah,
They're
dude.
smart. They have the best representation. So now we're going to flash back to the making of the commercial. Remember creepy Mike, the guy?
Yeah,
who-
sure.
who
Propofol
said-
Mike.
Yeah, Propofol Mike. He goes, it's not easy to do a Pepsi commercial. There's no health benefit. There's nothing other than good taste. But there's a whole lot of money to be made in selling caramel colored sugar water. So coming up with a clever ad year after year is very difficult. I don't think people have any idea how much time and effort it goes into making a 60 to 30 second commercial. I was on the front lines. I was on the front lines of Pepsi for 20 years. I wanted to write a book, what I did during the Cola Wars. Like anybody would fucking read anything this
Yeah.
guy's got to say. So then they kind of show all the classic Pepsi commercials. You remember the Robert Palmer ones with Simply Irresistible?
Yes!
Yeah. Okay, and you got like those girls with the bobs. and they had all the black mini skirts on. You don't remember this
Why are
commercial?
you grabbing your
I-
tits
I-
when you
that's how
say
they-
mini skirts?
I have to
Wrong
see.
correction.
Because they had
my
wrong.
friend.
They had these. You know how like the black.
Mini skirts don't go up
I
here,
know,
they
but
go
you
down
could
here.
see the
It's
tits
like part
a
of
little
it.
bit.
It's like the mini skirt attached to the.
They
to
were
the
hot
bu-
smoking girls.
busticaca.
Here's the thing. You know what I like,
I think
Dave?
that's called a dress.
I like
Justice.
white women with their hair pulled back, and that's what all these girls were doing.
That's
all right.
right.
So you look great.
Yeah, it was a great.
White.
Remember "Addicted to Love"? That song.
I remember the song. Sure.
Doctor, doctor, give me the news.
I'm trying to think if I remember the commercial. I would have to see the
So
commercial.
he was huge, man. He won
Sure.
a couple Grammys, and now by the way, he smokes 60 cigarettes a day.
Fuck yeah.
Died
Well,
at the,
he needs to be the Marlboro
He's
folk.
dead, Carling. He died in 2003.
From Leatherface.
Well, he should have been back then. He could have made the Herkimer Jet.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
died from from
Let's check-
leather lungs.
Let's check in with the Wolf. He says BBDO stands for Batten, Barton, Durstein, and Osborne. It's one of the most preeminent advertising agencies in the world. I know this because they used to send me checks for Pepsi.
What
That-
is it?
that ad
What,
agency.
what is
Wonder
it
Pepsi
now?
is.
It's still BBDO.
Really?
Yeah.
Never heard
So
of
he
it.
likens them to the Mad Men days, you know. But Jeff the Wolf says the pressure in this business and advertising was never ending. He said we would do all-nighters for months on end, no vacations, no weekends, but people would cut off a limb to be able to come and work for the Pepsi business because it was news and it was exciting. Michael says, out of my entire career, we've done all this wonderful stuff.
For some reason, I keep picturing Marlon Brando in like
Yeah,
The Godfather
kinda.
as you're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
this.
But then he
movie,
goes-
right?
But then he goes
melted
like this.
rhinoceros. Yes.
But then he goes, but if you Google what I've done, this thing that comes up is the Harrier Jet commercial. So this is
what
like
a prick.
linked,
Fuck
right?
this guy, dude.
It's like linked to him for life.
Fuck.
So anyway, they throw all their money into this major campaign, you know, with the catalog, all this shit. Now, Michael, he says I don't want to do his voice anymore because I feel like I'm bringing the pod down. He says when he was growing up, remember like when I was growing up, we had Montgomery Ward catalogs. You remember those?
Yeah,
Wait,
I
I
remember
need
Montgomery.
the voices because now I can't tell
All right.
who's who.
Okay.
God
Probably
damn
for
it.
you. Okay. So Michael says, when we were growing up, we had these catalogs that Neiman Marcus would put out. And he said, you know, in the back page, there was what was called the gift. That was the
Gift
big.
that keeps on giving.
No. It was called the fantasy present. It was the biggest
yeah.
gift and nobody could afford it. You know, there were like matching submarines.
Matching.
Oh, like
So
some
he
shit
said-
that like service merchandise
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
doing
But
shit
he's
too.
like, that's what we need for Pepsi. We need a fantasy present for the catalog that's gonna just blow their minds. So I looked at their fantasy. I went and found in their catalog and looked at all their fantasy presents. A couple of the highlights: his and her matching Jaguars. And then there was a present called Secure the Future, a bag of loose diamonds. And it's just a bag of loose diamonds that they're selling for $50,000.
Wait, question about the
Yeah.
Jaguars. Are they live Jaguars or like
No,
driving
cars.
Jaguars?
Yeah,
Okay,
they're just
checking.
cars.
I was
And then-
making sure.
All right. And then my last and personal favorite, his and her 2,000-year-old authenticated mummy cases for
Fuck yeah.
16,000
Do
grand.
they get to
Damn.
live in them?
Yeah, well, that's my thing.
in
It's like,
them?
are you going to bury yourself in
Yeah.
these mummy
Yeah,
cases?
like what are you gonna do with
yes,
these things?
Yes,
Yes.
I am. Yes,
Is the mummy
I purchased
inside
those.
of the mummy case?
No, they're just the cases.
How do you know that you fit into the mummified case?
You better
Well,
measure before you buy. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Jesus.
anyway, it's time to meet.
When you're dead, they can cut your ankles off. Big
It's,
deal. I mean,
it's
big
time
deal.
to meet
You could trim me down a little.
Colonel Jenna Dolan.
Oh, there's
She's
no.
an actual fighter pilot. Call sign Dookie.
She drives the Herkimer.
Yeah, call sign Dookie. Apparently, shit log was already taken. She says, "Hey, I'm Jenna Dolan, the first woman to fly a Harrier operationally in combat. The Harrier is a fixed-wing aircraft that I can hover, take off, and land vertically. The airplane can fly backwards, and it has the maneuver of a helicopter. So this is totally a different way of controlling an aircraft, sort of like balancing a ball on top of the pen." Of a pen. Let's just say that you could get into the aircraft not ever having been a pilot before. As we're maneuvering the aircraft, we're going to pull about 8 Gs. If you're not familiar with that, you can actually black out. And from there, obviously, if you're in an airplane by yourself, you're going to hit the ground. She goes, yeah, that's terrible. I don't want to
Instant
talk
death.
about it
Yeah.
anymore.
Chris was going 8 G's for those 10 years that he couldn't remember.
Yeah, pretty
Wait,
much.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's the difference between an airplane, aircraft, and a jet?
Is this a riddle or are you just asking?
I'm literally asking. I have no idea.
There's different classifications of airplanes.
That's an aeronautics
I know
course,
that there's
but we're
different
not going to get into it.
Classifications of
Harrier
airplanes. What's the difference between an
specifically,
airplane and a
a
jet?
Herb Derb aircraft. What is it called?
The engine.
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how it flies and how
Okay.
it takes off. All
All
these
right.
things are a fact.
Back to Jeff the
type of-
Wolf. He says, man,
Fair.
great. These guys nailed this
Lots
commercial.
of cream, lots of sugar.
He's he says they nailed this commercial. They figured out to take a regular collect and redeem promotion and make it a lot of fun. Okay. So Michael says this. This is the first board that Don and I put together that we're going to present to the client. We open up. It's just a small town, white picket fence. We bring up the type and we thought, hey, let's do the Hunt for Red October typing thing because it looks really cool.
Oh, the tick, 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 tick.
That's what my mind went to first.
Okay, so
Yeah, I love that.
Monday morning, 7:58. We cut to our hero, and there he is. He puts on his Pepsi T-shirt, and then what kind of sound? Leather jacket.
Ding,
Shades.
ding.
We cut to 3 kids sitting outside the school, and all of a sudden a shadow comes over them. We hear the roaring noise. Papers are flying over the kids' desks, and there's just havoc. Bicycles are flying into the air. And what is this? We see the Harrier jet. That's the big commercial. So, of course, Pepsi loves it. They says, we got to do it. Again, they think Harrier jets are cool because True Lies came out just the year before. So Michael says in our original mock-up, our hero doesn't look like somebody from Central Casting. And he was like, that was purposeful. He wanted the kid to be the everyman kid. And they show it, and he's kind of a tubby little kid. He says, we want the guy to have personality. They wanted it to be like the catcher from Sandlot. Okay. So, yeah, he doesn't get the cheerleaders, but he gets the Harrier jet.
Yeah.
Okay. So they all think this is going to be amazing. Let's fast track it. Let's bet the ranch on it. Let's throw all of our money into it. And they did it. But again, one change, and this is Michael the Drip. He said, we can't gas that kid. We don't want the underdog.
Wait, we can't gas him?
We can't cast that
Oh,
kid.
cast
He's not
him.
pretty
Sorry.
enough. We don't want the underdog.
Ugh.
So they
Can't
go
cast
with
John.
John.
No.
John's not in the commercial.
We're talking about the commercial.
We're talking
of
about the commercial.
Original Pepsi commercial.
Yeah, the casting of it, the creation, the storyboard.
Can't cast the Sandlot kid.
Yeah, the
Correct.
Sandlot-like
Correct.
kid, yes.
So they
Killing
say
me, Smalls.
right.
Hey, bazinga.
By the way, people
She wrote
say I
that in
look
her
like
notes, too.
That's
Killing me, Smalls.
good
I
work.
did.
Good
I
job.
did.
So they cast a guy that looks kind of like Rob Lowe, but like a 13-year-old Rob Lowe.
Okay.
So they say he was funny, or he was good, but he wasn't funny. So the spot came out straighter.
He's funny, but he's not charming.
Right.
He's charming, but he's not. Sorry. Okay, go on.
Anyway, Michael says, it's a funnier commercial with the kid that I originally wanted. Anyway, we finished the commercial and it went on air. Let's just, it flew and shit hit the fan. Oh, did it fly? So let's get back to Mount Vinson, Antarctica.
Okay.
Well, we're back to no bugs.
Yeah, no bugs. So Todd and John, they're on the rock. You know, they're that came out
Uncle
wrong.
Dave's on the rock sometimes, too.
Yeah,
You know?
I know. I've seen you blow your nose around here. So they're talking about this challenge that they're on, and that they're going to be hard days, they're going to be cold days, and you can get frostbitten up there. You can get hurt on the ice. The higher you go up, you can get altitude sickness. Same thing with Pepsi.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to.
It's not Coca-Cola. There's no
Spittle.
cocaine involved. You can't get that high.
All right. So, anyways, this is their framing of the bit, which, it is what it is. So they say we need a lawyer. They say we need a real lawyer. So
Yeah.
let's cue up lawyer Larry Shantz.
Literally, this should have been before you even send the check. We need a lawyer.
Yeah, so
who's
they
going to be behind us.
They get Larry Shantz. Larry says, you want to solve a problem? You go see Shantz because I don't take no prisoners. I never take no for an answer. I see the world as pink.
So this is the
What does that mean?
I don't-
90s Larry H. Parker?
Pretty much.
I've heard. So wait, what's the expression? Paint the town red. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's from High Plains Drifter.
What is that like?
Burn the fucker down. I'm going to paint the town red.
I never even knew that's what that meant.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's what it's from.
I
'cause he
thought it
paints
was
the
a
town.
period joke.
No.
Okay.
No.
You thought it was a period joke? We ain't painting shit.
So
I mean,
here's my
time
point.
period.
Here's my point. What does that mean when someone says, I see the world as pink? Does that just means like he wants to fuck everything? I've never heard that phrase.
I've never either.
Paint the
anyway.
town pink?
No.
He says, I see the world
I
as
see
pink.
the world as pink.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
Maybe it just
Larry's
means
deal.
like, it's one color to me.
Oh, he's
And it's a
doing us looking at
bitchy
pussy. I
color.
don't.
John
what could it
says
possibly
Larry reminds him from Vinny, from my cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
And
Your
Todd,
time clock is whatever. Anyway,
all right,
sorry.
Todd
I'm
describes the initial meeting. They bring the commercial in and they play it. And there's a group of lawyers, Stanford lawyers, Columbia lawyers. And they go, can you play that again? And they're like, yeah, we'll play it again. And then the lawyer's like, can you play that again?
Oh, no.
Lawyer's like,
They do their
Back to
90
this, like,
check.
commercial.
They do the
90.
90 thing check.
Oh, fuck that.
And then the lights come up, and one of the lawyer goes, I don't think that's an offer. And the others are like, of course it's an offer. Look what they said. Don't you know rule number 15.547 on Brown versus such and such? That constitutes an offer.
Yeah.
So they're all arguing. Larry says, you're all whistling Dixie. It's a pipe dream. But there it was. The ad is so clear cut. 7 million points. Heritage Jet, you saw it, and there's no disclaimer. So he says, they're giving away a Harrier jet for a goddamn Pepsi, so we're not giving up. So they draft a letter. They say, you guys made the offer. Your offer was accepted. You got to deliver on your promise. Per your video, we are requesting that you deliver us the Harrier jet. We've met your requirements. Todd says, this isn't a joke. We'd like you to perform on your offer. You have our money. Act accordingly.
Give me the fucking jet
Give me
already.
the goddamn
Give me what I
jet.
asked for. God damn it.
Yeah.
So back to July 96, John's at his parents' house. He gets a call from a reporter and he says, are you John Lennon? And he says, yes. And he goes, are you the same John Lennon that Pepsi just sued in federal district court today in New York? And John's like, what? I got sued? Pepsi sues John. Okay. They sue him.
Preemptive strike.
Well, they sue him and say,
What about Todd?
Todd's not named
Todd
in
wrote
the
the
suit.
check.
Todd's smart. Todd knows what's up. Todd
John
didn't
got
write the
sued.
check.
Yeah, he wrote the check, but
Oh,
he
he
didn't.
did?
He didn't put his name as the guy who was claiming.
Aha.
John did.
There you go.
All right. So they
And
want
the check never cleared anyway.
They didn't cash
It's
it.
true.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
this is correct.
So there's no legal anything here.
So
now.
Todd says we're all surprised that they sued John, and there should have been a phone call at least. Like, can we sit down and talk?
Yep.
And or
So
what?
they've never met.
No,
Have they entertained their lawyers at all? The lawyers?
no. We're gonna
nothing.
get there though.
Okay, we haven't gone there yet.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait, who hasn't met? John and Todd?
No.
John and Todd know each other very well.
Pepsi and John.
Pepsi and
Oh,
John.
Pepsi and
Or
John. I was
Pepsi's
like, wait,
lawyers
what?
Or
All right.
Pepsi's lawyers and John's lawyers. They have no-
Okay.
So mom
I'm caught
says
up.
it was a very stressful time because they was trying to serve John papers, and John's dodging them all across town. And finally, somebody.
John's also in high school.
Yep. Well, he's in college actually.
Well, close enough.
So they throw they serve the papers and just leave them on the front porch. So Pepsi says they have an argument that it was illegal for someone to actually buy a Harrier jet, and for any offer to be legitimate, it has to be legal. So at this point, according to Jeff the Wolf, the Pepsi lawyers, the BBDO lawyers, the insurance company lawyers, everyone's involved. So it's going to be this long drawn out process. So the Wolf calls Michael, and they work on damage control, and they change the ad. So the original ad was for 7 million points. They change it to 700 million points, which would be how much for the jet, Dave?
Now you're talking $7 million.
70 million.
Yeah. 70.
Wait, how many million points?
2 zeros, 2 extra
70.
zeros.
Okay.
70 million for the jet.
That's how they change it. So they're like, we got to put a stop to this. So then they change it again and they add just kidding in parentheses, even after they change it to 700 million points.
Yeah.
So these guys see this and they're like, we're going to win this case because they had to change the ad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in the driver's seat.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
Fair
fair.
game here.
Yep. It's like basically they're saying,
Does it say what they were suing them for yet?
yeah, the fucking jet. They made an offer.
No. What did Pepsi?
What are they suing John for?
Their argument is it's not illegal for anybody to own a Harrier jet. So therefore the case is invalid.
So, but
Wait, what?
what is the
It's
law?
not legal?
You can't legally own a Harrier jet.
That's what they're claiming.
what
But
Pepsi-
you said
Pepsi's claiming.
earlier that you can
Well, that's-
because
They-
you can't have any of the warfare
well,
on it.
This is
That's
Pepsi's
the
argument,
Pentagon
not
said
theirs.
that.
Yeah.
Pentagon said, okay, not Pepsi.
Or
Pepsi's not Pentagon. Close enough, but
Joe Schmo at the Pentagon said
Right.
that. Who knows?
All right.
No,
But-
they got to the top.
Okay, they got
Guy's
to.
name was Bacon. Yeah.
sweet Jesus.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Okay, I don't know what Mr.
We'll get
Bacon's
to that.
first
We'll get
name
to
is.
that. Okay.
Kevin?
All right. That's a joke in the thing. They were like, I thought it was Kevin Bacon, but it's not. It's like somebody else named Bacon. So anyway, Pepsi reaches out and says, why don't we just have a settlement conference? Okay. So it's been 10 months since John's seen the commercial. So John says, I got to look good for court or settlement, so I'm going to Sears. I'm
Wait, how old is John at this point in time?
Like 21
nothing's
now.
changed.
He's still 20.
Yeah.
So this is like 6 months down the
10
road.
months. Whatever.
10 months.
Okay.
Oh
So
my God, this
Maybe he's
child. He
21.
hasn't even had a real fucking drink yet.
no. Probably could have been going to Nirvana
Not even
concerts,
had a Pepsi.
puking,
I
banging
wanna say Pepsi and
chicks.
Coke. It's a Jack
It's gonna
and
be a
Coke.
Jack and Coke.
Yeah.
But a Jack and Pepsi.
He
That's
goes-
not a
Ain't gonna
thing.
be no Jack and Pepsi.
He goes and buys his Van Heusen suit that
Van
came with a
Heusen.
free tie. And,
in champagne.
so they sit down
Champagne.
and Todd says, these guys are like, so what do you really want? And they're like, what do you mean? We want the jet. And they're like, no. What do you really want? And John says, I was pretty clear what I want. I said, I want what you offered. And Larry said, they said, you really believe we meant this? I said, yeah, of course you meant it. Here's your video. Here's what you said. Here's exactly what the instructions were. And here's what we did. Todd says, we didn't put you in this situation. You put yourself in this situation. Pepsi said, it's a Harrier jet. It's used for military purposes. Todd says, he said, what's the purpose of that smarmy look on your face?
Oh God, it's a he said, he said.
Larry said, I think it's false advertising.
Ad hominem attacks, I see.
Yes. Larry says it's false advertising, and as a result, you need to pony up. So they're going back and forth, and then lo and behold, they allude to the fact that they might be able to work on settling. So the Pepsi lawyer writes a number down on a piece of paper, folds the piece of paper,
Fucking piece of shit.
passes it over to him. What do you think's written on that piece of paper?
A
Oh, okay.
number.
Yep. What do you think the number is?
I'm gonna go with like what'd we start with? 700,000? I'm gonna go 700,000.
Dave, what's your
I'm
guess?
gonna go 1.5 mil.
Carling wins. $750,000.
Yes!
But they're
Okay,
willing
so
to go up to $1 million if necessary.
Why the fuck
Okay,
would you
okay.
ever say
Okay,
that?
first
Just
of all-
stick with your original.
First of all,
Yeah.
if you're saying you're going up to $1 million,
You're
mean
going
you're
to- you're going to five.
You're
You're
going to
going to
3.
$1 million.
You're going to go to 3 million. But hold on here. So now their offer was they've never cashed the $700,000
Correct.
check.
Correct.
What they're going to offer is a $750,000 check.
Cash that check and then go pick it
at
back
this
to them.
point, you are 20 years old, Chris, and I'm going to ask
Yep.
you the same thing. You're 20 years old.
Yep.
Do you take that $750,000 if you're
It's funny you should ask. Now, here's the thing. There's investors in this. So John's leading the charge,
shit,
but
okay.
there's investors behind this. Now, in the doc, they only say that John or Todd was the investor. But I did more research and I found out there were 5 investors that pulled this money together. So who knows how much he was actually
Game
going to
has
get.
changed.
Now, let me put it to you this way. If I'm,
This is starting to seem like some kind of
yeah,
other.
Scam.
is DARPA involved?
No, but I'm thinking this
You're-
kid was a patsy.
MK Ultra?
Kid was a patsy, maybe.
Okay. So the
Wait,
point
what's
is,
that mean?
Oh, we'll continue.
Okay, we'll
later.
get there.
okay. So the point is, if I'm that kid, yes, I'm taking the money because I'm 20 years old. And even if I only walk away with $150,000, that's enough for me to do a lot with my life with.
Yeah, because now if you're let's just say you're gonna have to give Todd some money.
Yeah.
you give Todd most of that money.
Yep.
because he put up that $700,000.
Yep.
So let's just say you give him $500,000, you
Wait.
take home $200,000. Pretty good payday.
No way, bullshit. If this kid is climbing fucking K2 at 20 years old, there's no way he's taking 700,000 because that's what it costs to go fucking climb
Yeah,
K2.
She's right. This
No
guy's
way. He's
this
like,
I
guy's-
no,
don't
I'll
know
take
if he
700
climbed
million.
K2.
Well, the
Let's
kid
go.
went for it. I mean,
7
obviously,
mil,
he's
let's
like,
go.
no, obviously, I mean, the kid's a crazy rock climber.
No
so
way he
he's
took
going for it.
725,000.
Okay.
He doesn't
So,
take it, yeah.
so here's the thing.
This wouldn't be a documentary if we took it.
Right?
So anyway, Larry,
We're only on episode 2, so
Yeah,
let's be real. He did
we're-
not take it.
we got to plow through. So anyway, they decline the offer. Okay. They go out in the hallway. They discuss the decline it. His
Smart
mom
kid.
says you should have taken the money. I would have if I'd been in that situation.
Mom's
the
a
people
dipshit.
the people at Pepsi were like, I would have taken that money right there. Michael, of course
they are.
Michael has an opinion on it. He says, let's face it, he's a young kid. I would have told him to take the cash, but then he's gonna pay taxes on that.
Yeah.
I don't think the $1 million split was enough.
Wait, I thought you don't pay taxes on the money you get from a lawsuit.
No, you got to pay taxes. You got to pay taxes on everything. It depends it depends on the lawsuit.
You could sell drugs illegally and pay taxes on it, and you probably won't go to jail for IRS fraud.
Okay, John's point is this.
Just put it that way.
Yeah, fair.
John
Okay.
says, my
Okay.
point is this. I did
So
the
I'm
math.
not going to lose money in my lawsuit. Just
He
kidding.
says, I did the math. You're offering me essentially a 30th of what it's worth. I'm going to pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smart.
Johnny wants a jet. Okay. The suits are like, are you kidding? And they're like,
Yeah.
no, I want the goddamn jet.
Yeah.
So then John says,
He doesn't even mention ever that he wants or $30 million. No, right?
they just said, I want the jet. So anyway, they're feeling outgunned, and now they need an aggressive bulldog to help them out. Any guesses on who they bring in to help them out?
Larry H. Parker.
Wow.
Accidentes deuce.
Larry H. Parker, or I mean, the other one would be Johnny Cochran.
No, you're forgetting about the other guy.
Who's the guy that represented OJ? Kardashians.
Oh yeah, Kardashian was
Well,
one.
Yeah, you can't forget about the guy
Fuck, what's his
that's
name?
on 570 all the time around here.
Wow, 5'7".
Anyway,
Oh, you talking about AM 5'7"?
Jacob and Ronnie.
Yeah,
Oh.
Jacob.
I
and
thought,
Ronnie,
just so you
call
know,
Jacob.
just so you know, it's not Jacob and Ronnie.
I know that.
I thought it was Jacob and
Ronnie.
Right.
No, because you guys are goys,
Oh,
right.
excuse me. Sorry with my goyness.
or
Okay.
as Armenians would say, odars.
All right, so here's the big reveal. The guy's head pops up. He's a bald guy, and he says, plot twist, and it's Michael Avenatti.
What?
Michael Avenatti.
Okay.
Do you know who Michael Avenatti
Yeah,
is?
isn't it
I
the
do
guy?
not. It's lost
Okay.
on me.
Michael Avenatti, the guy that represented Stormy Daniels during the Trump thing.
Oh, shit.
Yep, it's
Yes.
Michael Avenatti. Now,
Yes, he probably lost that one too, though.
okay, keep in mind, at the time, Michael Avenatti is just a couple years older than John. So let me give you a brief
Wait, so he's
history.
like
23,
21,
24.
22,
26.
23?
Yeah,
26.
not even a lawyer at the time. So
So he's
Wait,
still
what?
representing. Wait, what?
what? He wasn't even a lawyer at the time.
Hold the phone. Who is
Yeah.
he representing as a non-lawyer?
He wasn't a non-lawyer. So here's the thing. Larry knew a girl named Muffy in San Francisco.
Wait, Larry H. Parker?
No,
Muffy and
Larry,
Tuffy?
our lawyer. The boys'
Whose
lawyer.
lawyer? My lawyer?
No.
Your lawyer.
The lawyer, Todd's lawyer, and John's lawyer, Larry. He knows a
Larry
girl.
H. Parker, Todd's lawyer.
He knows a girl named Muffy in San Francisco, and says,
Muffy's not related to Stormy.
"No, this is
You
1995."
lost on me. Stormy was around in 1995. Let's be
I'm sure she
realistic here.
was.
Oh,
She's
yes.
probably
She
15.
was only 12.
Okay.
But it's cool.
The point is this: they
Gross.
find Michael Avenatti through Larry's contact in San Francisco named Muffy. Now, at the time, he's doing political opposition
Wait,
research.
a man's named Muffy? Not a woman?
They didn't clarify. I didn't ask. So let me just give you a little background on Avenatti for those that are listening and don't know. As recently as June 2nd of this year, 2022, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison for the book proceeds theft from Stormy Daniels. Okay. So he's in jail right now. So during,
What?
yeah,
Even though the story's true.
yeah, of course. He's not in jail for this shit. He's in jail for the shit he did with Trump and for the Nike stuff. So
Oh, wait. I thought you were saying Stormy Daniels' lawyer.
yeah,
Not Trump's lawyer.
yeah. Stormy Daniels' lawyer is Michael Avenatti.
Why'd he go to jail?
Because he ripped off Stormy Daniels and he tried to extort Nike.
Oh, I forgot about all that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Okay, so that's the whole point. He wasn't.
My bad.
He didn't even know Stormy Daniels back then.
No,
Okay.
she didn't exist.
He was
She was
just.
sperm.
He was just a regular lawyer. Okay, so we don't need to do Michael Avenatti's history. All you need to know is who he is. So that is how episode 2 ends. Okay. So before we begin episode 3, I'd like you all to look down at the red cups that have been provided. For
Yes,
you.
I
We
see
are
the red
going
cups.
to take our own Pepsi.
versus Coke challenge.
Correct.
Wow, man.
Now-
you know how to do these things big.
Yes, you do. You
Well,
know how to do a podcast.
Somebody.
One can of each. Holy
No,
shit.
I went big. Well, here's the thing.
You came up to me like you're gonna sneak me a sack or something. Like you're like,
Yeah.
hey, take a look at this thing. You're like, hey, look what I got.
Well, there's more than that. I actually-
nothing but Pepsi.
I actually put cocaine in the
Whoa,
Coca-Cola
but I bet
so
it
we
didn't
could
go-
experience
Excited.
it
Let's
the
go.
way it was supposed to be experienced.
original Coca-Cola.
Okay, so-
Wait, so then what is that I snorted in the bathroom?
Oh, that's
Just
Donnie
baking
Drywall.
soda.
Oh shit.
All right, so Carling, why don't you start? And again, we're not going to swish it around in our mouths for 3 minutes. We're going to get this over, get it on with our lives, and then we'll go from there.
I've already said that 100%.
I mean, I want to do a sniff.
Do a sniff, get in there. I'm just saying, I 100% guarantee
Yeah.
that I will get this correct.
I feel confident as well.
I can 100% guarantee that I will not know the difference
I
between the
can
two.
100% guarantee you this is going to take forever unless you get that stuff down your gullet. So let's see what
It
happens.
smells so gross.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
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 Right, there's that
You got
one.
that taste, huh?
Yep.
Ooh, rate that one. Rate that one.
No rating.
No
It's
rating,
just
okay.
Pepsi or it's
No,
Coke.
It
No,
tastes
no.
like dirty sugar water.
Okay. And the next
Sugar
one.
water.
Hold on, let me just.
Oh, yeah,
refresh
yeah.
the
By the
palate.
way, for those that are listening, she's cleansing her palate with a Sierra Nevada beer.
Yeah, pale ale.
Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, best beer ever.
Yep. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
dull those tongue
Palate has been
senses.
cleansed.
Okay, day 19. We got a show to do here.
If you had to guess, what would you think?
Pepsi Cola.
Pepsi Cola.
You are correct.
Oh,
No way I got
Yeah.
that right.
Yeah.
yeah. Was it a blind guess, would you say?
Yep.
Was it a good old Helen Keller
right,
try?
Dave.
Okay, here we go. Let's try this real good.
I can't believe I got that right. That's amazing.
I think I'll attempt to do this by only drinking one of them.
Okay.
You gotta down that soda.
Okay, what's in
That
your right
100%
hand?
is Pepsi.
You are correct.
Yeah.
All right. I think I can do this with just
Shit.
drinking one myself. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, I could taste the Coke.
This is
How do you
this
tell
is
the
Pepsi.
difference?
This has got to be Pepsi.
And
it
for those
Pepsi?
of you who are wondering, yes, it is. For those of you who are wondering, Chris switched the
did.
bottom of the cup. So the ones that say P are actually the Coke, and the ones that say C are
In
actually
case we had
Pepsi.
some cheaters.
In case we had a cheater.
All right.
I am, well, I mean, I had a 50% chance that I'd get it right.
Well, you know what? It's time to get back to Antarctica and get back on the mountain because guess
we're
what?
on Mount Vincent.
We're back on Mount Vinson. Todd are gearing up for their ascent of Mount Vinson on Antarctica. Todd says, my heart is still brave and strong, but my body is not the same as it was. So it's going to be a real challenge for me. I have too much in my duffel bag. John says, when Todd and I first met, he was coming out of something. He had a brain tumor. Now, fast forward to 2021, and unfortunately, Todd's going back into something. Cancer's back.
No.
Yep.
The tumor.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot about Todd's.
Yep. So Todd says, before I left to Antarctica, I got diagnosed with another aggressive cancer. The doctors that I spoke to, they would have preferred if I stayed behind and, had an operation to remove some of this stuff. And I said to these doctors, but I'm going to Antarctica. I can't have this operation. They were like, no. This is not a wait and see thing. You got to
Yeah.
get this done. And he's
Wait,
like,
what kind of cancers has he had?
it's in his brain. Don't you remember from episode
Brain
1?
tumor.
The bloody
Brain
bandages.
tumor. There we go. Yes.
Yep.
He was in the
Is it
trough.
still a brain tumor? is
They
it
don't get into
metastasized?
it. They don't get into it. But the whole point is,
It's
he
the
said,
Pepsi.
the whole point is, he says, I'm going to Antarctica. So now they're at day 3, low camp to high camp. What does that mean, Carly?
Oh.
Transition point from low to high?
So when you do these big giant hikes, you often have to hike up to a lower elevation.
Mm-hmm.
And then to train yourself, you hike up to a higher elevation and then come back down.
Oh, okay.
And you do these consistently over multiple days to build up your acclimation to
Okay.
go way high.
Got it. Well, Todd says, I'm not scared.
Very
It's a-
similar to what wood layers do when they're acclimating wood. It's got to sit in your house for a couple days.
wood takes a long
the
time to
thing.
set.
Gotta acclimate. Wood acclimating.
So anyway, Todd says it's a calculated gamble. I'll go back. I'll either be, the idiot or the hero or both, but I'm not averse to risk. And I do think I'm a risk taker.
Oh my God, he's putting so many people at risk when he hikes that mountain. I never thought about that.
Hold on.
That's a good idea.
Hold on. I
That's
got
a
to
good
back
point.
this up. He says, and I do think I'm a risk taker, just like the Pepsi deal.
Yes.
Jesus.
So,
Well, we don't have the Herkimer jets
They're-
to drive
they're
him
going-
up. Herkimer. What's Harrier?
Harrier.
Right.
Harrier.
Harrier
Sorry.
styles.
I'm gonna
so
get this
he says,
eventually.
just like in the Pepsi deal, John brought this thing to me. I loved it. We figured out something together, and we're going for that Harrier jet. Okay. So Larry H. Parker, he says, we respected his decision. He said, I want to go for broke.
Yes.
But we realize it's going to be a tough battle. So cue Michael Avenatti, who we discussed at the briefly. Stormy, we know what he did with Stormy Daniels. He's in jail right now. Now, during this thing, they interviewed him. He was under house arrest. He hadn't got thrown in the shit can yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Avenatti says, I've represented a lot of clients, over $1 billion in verdicts and settlements. Obviously, that number would be a lot higher had he not stole from all of his clients.
Wait, did he say verdicts and settlements?
Uh-huh.
So it's not one or the other.
No, there's two different things. You can win a verdict, okay?
You can,
Or
but
you can
he
settle.
hasn't like
or you could settle out of court.
Billions of dollars in settlements.
It's a combined.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So, but now he says, but now I'm in the lowest point in my life. So Avenatti, he looks at the screen. He says, all these people, they hate me. These fucking haters are like, what the fuck is Avenatti being on this for? He always interjects himself into anything. Well, I got news for you. 24 years ago, I threw in with the kid because I thought we could get the jet.
Oh, another investor.
No, he was the fucking
He was
snooper.
he was like the
He was the guy that went in to get the dirt on Pepsi. Political opposition, dirty trickster.
Wait, what? Where did I miss that?
You just being
He's
you.
the mole, the plant.
I've missed it all.
He's the guy that gets the dirty evidence. He's not a lawyer like he is now with Stormy Daniels or Nike. At the time, he was just in political opposition research. The guys that go out and find the
I'm
dirt.
still stuck on the verdicts and.
I know you are.
Well, but
It's
it's like
okay.
saying
But
like
it's
every
okay.
time I go in and buy a lotto ticket, I spent $3, so I lost the $3. But every time I win the lotto or my scratchers or whatever, I win.
All he's saying,
10.
all he's
So it's like I won 13.
It's actually nothing like that at all. What he's saying is this. He said, with all the lawyering I've done, I've brought in over $1 billion for my clients.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
Right, whatever.
It's fucking false advertising.
Yes,
Sue
it
this
is.
motherfucker.
Okay. Let's go back to 1997, 2 years since John originally saw the commercial. So Avenatti says in 97, out of the blue, I got called from a friend of mine who I worked in with the political arena. And she said, there's this crazy case involving this kid from Seattle collecting Pepsi points, trying to get a Harrier jet. And they're not getting anywhere. So you want to see what you can do? Will you meet with him? And he said, sounds crazy, but sure, I'm in. So Avenatti, he goes and meets Larry in South Beach. And this is when he meets Todd as well. And he kind of doesn't like Todd. And he says, you know, I'm trying to think of an actor who could play Todd Hoffman. You know, big ego, never shy about acting like he's the smartest guy in the room, that kind of guy. And then he goes, oh, I know. What's the worst movie that Al Pacino was in? Well, that would be Todd Hoffman. And then they randomly show Al
Meet the
Pacino.
fuckers?
No, they show Al Pacino in a movie, and Al Pacino just says, I could smell horny across an ocean. And I'm like,
Freaking
what?
Harrier jet.
I'm like, who snuck that into this? So, but it's kind of a backhanded. I mean, it's a weird way to diss somebody. It's like, you know, Dave, you're like Barbara Streisand in her worst movie, Yentl.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Todd says, Michael was in charge. He's smart, engaging personality, but I always knew he was slippery. I always knew he was a sleazy guy. Avenatti says, make no mistake about it. Todd was a very shrewd guy. He was all about the dollars and cents, and it was always about, at the end of the day, Todd Hoffman. So you already know Avenatti and Hoffman didn't click very well. So Todd says, I know some people that are wonderful people, and they have pathological illnesses. And his bad side to me is a bad side. Okay?
I mean, you are a 40-year-old dude hanging out with the 20-year-old all day, going to crazy mountains.
Climbing mountains where it's only the two of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know how it works. I've never been up on a pitch.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, Avenatti
I
says,
wish I could quit you.
is that how it is in those tents after 7 days?
It really is.
All right. Well, Avenatti says, I was only 26. I had had a career in political opposition, research, and media relations, all while attending law school at night. So he says he's got the right skill set for this kind of work. Knowledge of the law, knowledge of the media, and very good research skills. So he says, I can remember finding something on 3 or 4 pretty well-known politicians and thinking at the time, you know, I wonder what steakhouse they're eating at right now and whether they know that I just ended their fucking political careers.
Oh.
Real greaseball shit.
Yeah, Grease.
So then they show this random picture that is like we're assuming Avenatti owns, and it's a picture of Epstein and Trump, and it's circled in red, and then underneath it just says revisit. Like,
Wait,
come back to
what?
this when you need it to fuck somebody over.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
And
So-
this is before Trump.
Yeah, way before.
Wow.
Avenatti did.
So
He knew it was
Dirt-
he
was
a dirt monger.
ultimate dirtbag.
yeah, can you imagine what that guy's got in his closet? You know, I mean, he just got 4 years in prison. He'll probably be out in 2 or whatever. But so Avenatti says, it becomes clear to me at that time that they're highly unlikely to win this case in a court of law. There had been a number of strategic mistakes from a litigation standpoint that even I, as a law student at the time, realized. You had Larry Shantz. I mean, he's a nice guy, smart bankruptcy lawyer, but he has no fucking business in a case like this. He's going to get outmaneuvered in the filing of the case because they had threatened Pepsi and Pepsi jumped them and filed in New York. Mm-hmm. They were able to sue John in their backyard, namely the Southern District of New York, that Pepsi knew would be more friendly to their arguments.
Right.
We were going to have to bring public pressure to bear on John Leonard's behalf. By the way of some aggressive public relations action, a full court press with the media. I told them, we're going to kick Pepsi's ass and all of their lawyers and all of their media types, and we're going to outplay them at their own game. Okay?
Oh,
Yeah.
So he's getting on the offensive.
Tell him.
He's going to get
We're
dirty.
getting Coke behind us if we need to.
Got this.
He says we're dealing with potentially bringing down one of the world's biggest corporations. With
shit.
all their executives, all the billions of dollars behind it. Okay? He had the opportunity to bring these sons of bitches to their knees, and I wanted to be right there with him.
Sons of bitches.
So remember old Michael DeDrip? He says,
Yep.
Michael Avenatti,
Michael's back. Michael. Here's Michael.
Mikey Propofol.
knowing what we know about him, he wouldn't have.
Clearly, I'm propofol.
He wouldn't have been my
Propofol.
first choice. He wouldn't have been my my third choice, fourth choice, or whatever. And then he just says, not really, nah.
Any excitement in the voice?
This guy.
Something.
Love being there.
Larry H. Parker says, I don't know
So
if
wait,
he's,
okay, this
Yeah.
Propofol guy.
Yeah.
What is his actual
he's
role?
the creative director who created the ad, but they're interviewing
He's
him.
the one that brought up the idea of putting the Herkimer jet,
Yeah.
whatever it's called.
So,
Harry
yes.
Meyer.
Yes. So he doesn't actually work for Pepsi.
No, he's creative.
Yeah.
He's out.
But he's
So
like
he
he's
works
like
for
a
Pepsi
contractor.
as a creative.
He's a contractor.
He's a
for Pepsi.
contractor.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a little bit different. Yeah.
But keep in
Okay,
mind,
fair.
Yeah.
Fair,
he
fair, fair.
worked his entire life with all these famous people.
Sure,
and
sure,
if you
sure, sure,
Google
sure,
him,
sure,
this
sure.
is what you're going to find.
There's-
He doesn't
that's
like
what he
that.
starts off with. He starts off with how many famous people he knows, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, name
Yes.
dropper.
So let's get back to Larry. Larry says, I don't know if he's a fraud, but I think he is. I think he steps over the line a little. That's the look, I'm trying to be nice on camera. I think he steps over the line as a human being. So Avenatti, he says, hey, they have to rely predominantly on free media, meaning the press just running with the story and talking about John's case for free. That's what we have to do. So John's phone starts ringing, okay? And reporters are calling by, they're like,
Wait, how old is John now? Like 22?
no, he's still just call him 21. This whole thing happens like a year and a half. He's not going to
All
turn
in the span of a year?
a year and a half. Here's the thing. He's not going to turn 30 unless I tell you. Okay? He's still just going to be this guy.
25 and 21 are very different.
No. He's
So
still
it's
just
25 and
21.
30.
He's 21.
Okay.
So anyway, people are calling him up. Radio stations are calling him up. Avenatti says, I'm trying to package this as David versus Goliath. He says, I want to utilize John, who was incredibly genuine and very likable. So calls are coming in nonstop, radio nonstop. And then he gets a call from a guy and he says, so what are you going to do? You're not going to give up on giving the jet? And he says, no, what do I have to lose? I'm going to keep going for this. So according to Avenatti, we wanted to convince people that Pepsi, in the interest of profits, was disregarding people like John Leonard, the same people they were targeting. Okay? Reporter comes in with a great line. He says, a college student says his dreams of a Harrier jet have been grounded.
Oh gosh.
He's on Extra. He goes on CBS. Dan Rather calls his mom.
Yeah, everywhere where Coke advertises and Pepsi doesn't, basically.
Todd
Probably.
says
Grounded.
Todd says he was the Pepsi poster boy. And, John says, I love Pepsi stuff,
Except for its shit.
I think it's shit compared to Coke, but, he's trying to put a PR spin on it.
He's
But he's
like, I like these guys.
he's like,
just
it's
give
the
him my
truth.
Harrier jet, dude.
So according to Avenatti, he says Pepsi shit in their pants. He says, are we going to owe this kid a Harrier jet? So then they bring in one of the suits and they get Pepsi's reaction on one of the cable network news. His name's John Harris. And John's like, hi, Jody. Hi, Urban. Millions of people saw the spot and laughed. And Mr. Leonard hired a stable of lawyers and business advisors. And pardon the pun, it just doesn't fly with us.
Oh gosh.
So he actually went to that line twice in the doc, and I just couldn't get it out twice. So his whole thing is Harris says Leonard missed the point. Okay. He's like, it was a fucking joke. You know, everybody knew it was a joke.
Right.
All right.
Now, how do you feel about this? Are you like
I'll tell you at the
spirit-
end.
Okay,
I'll tell you at the end.
Okay.
But is it a joke? Because they don't say it's a joke like
I'll
they
tell
did
you
in the
at the
commercials
end.
after.
I'll tell you at the end.
All right, sorry,
anyway,
I'm
so Harris says Mr. Leonard saw the spot, hired business advisors and lawyers, and decided to take legal action. Now, Jeff the Wolf says, when I found out there was a law firm involved, it became pretty clear that this was another attempt to squeeze money out of a big company. All right. So the reporter says, they say you're trying to shake them down for money. And John says, let me be clear. They made me an offer and I'm not the bad guy. And now they're making me into the bad guy. And I don't know why. So people.
Why doesn't he talk about how much money he spent?
Well, because that's not what he said. He just didn't do that. But he's got another thing. And
Why didn't he be like, I spent $700,000 on this shit?
Well, because technically he didn't.
Because it's shit.
Well, they never cashed the check out, so they technically never spent any money on it.
Fair.
All right. So
But
they're
he
getting
still spent the money.
they're getting called ambulance chasers. All right.
Right.
This does not make
It's
John
not in the
Todd
spirit of the game.
happy. And Todd says, look, I hate to even say that we're not ambulance chasers because that almost dignifies their statement. Now, John says this is also the time when the McDonald's hot coffee incident came up. Remember? So they're being compared to that 81-year-old woman who got $2.9 million because she burned her lip.
That's not $32 million though.
They're not trying to get 32. Well,
They're trying to get a
technically,
Harrier
they're-
fucking jet.
They're
All
trying to get
This kid
$32 million. He
wants
wants a
his
fucking jet.
All right. Anyway, Todd says he went to all his family and
Wants to
friends.
fly to fucking baseball.
They're all
okay?
saying the same thing. Good for you. Go get it. Okay. Todd says at the very least, the ad was misleading. They knew what they were doing. It's attainable, but it's not out of people's reach, but it is attainable, but it's kind of close enough. Okay. So Michael says there's no offer in the catalog. The jet does not appear in the catalog. Okay. I'm looking at the catalog. There's no jet in the
But
catalog.
they wrote the catalog. They wrote it in.
And he's like, this is wasting my time. He's like, I want this to go away. I need to be creative. Okay. I need to be creative and I don't want to be dealing with this.
Why are they so focused on him and not the lawyers of all this?
They will be. They will be. We're going to get to more lawyering.
All right, Jesus.
Okay. So Todd says, I think people took the ad seriously. And my feeling was that this is how ad agencies manipulate young kids. Kids are going through the aisle and there's Coke or Pepsi and it's, Mom, I want Pepsi because I can win a Harrier jet. So Jeff the Wolf says, I raised 2 kids of my own and from age 5, they would have known the Harrier jet wasn't a real offer. Okay. Well, Avenatti says the kid in the Harrier jet, he's a kid. And there's kids throughout this ad. It's all geared towards kids, and it was designed to entice kids to convince their parents to buy Pepsi.
Wait, that's BS. Because every time I saw a commercial, I believed everything that was in those commercials. Did you guys not?
Well,
some people did. Apparently, that's their case. So anyway, John's trying to get on David Letterman to pitch his case, but Pepsi gets to David Letterman because they're a sponsor, and they won't let him
you
on.
schmuck.
Yep.
So he goes to Jay Leno. All right, guy, we're going to have the Pepsi guy on.
Hey, guy, here's the kid for
Yeah,
Pepsi.
we're gonna have the guy.
All right, so anyway, Avenatti then says, then lo and behold, out of the blue, the spokesperson from the Pentagon, Kenneth Bacon, was asked whether a civilian could actually
comes
own
back.
a Harrier
Wow,
jet.
Bacon's back in the bit.
Okay? So
Wait, what was his name?
I told you, Kenneth Bacon, not
Kenneth.
Kevin.
Kenneth.
Kenneth.
All right.
Not
Close enough.
Kevin.
Okay.
Kenneth.
Well, here's the thing. They have a reporter asking Kenneth Bacon, okay, if they can own if a civilian can own a Harrier jet. And they say, Pentagon officials say that Harrier jets have not been demilitarized, so it can't be sold to the public. So it's not even an option to get them demilitarized.
Now he's flip-flopping.
I mean, that would make sense.
That's what we need to assume, I think.
Let me
is safe
send
to
out
say.
some sodas to the troops and then we'll make things work.
Right, there you go. So John's mom, Linda, even has a theory that Pepsi went after John while he was climbing in the mountains and says, I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure that they screwed with his oxygen tanks at high altitude. And then they do a flashback and they show a guy that's in a blue suit, like Blue Man Group.
Oh, my God.
And he walks into a tent and he like takes the
Some
oxygen,
Star Wars ass shit.
takes the oxygen out of one of his tanks.
Yeah.
Wait,
So-
but if you're
Yeah.
hiking a big mountain like that, your guide is going to check them before you go up the mountain.
Right. But I'm just saying,
This is why they can't be proven, I think.
it's just a theory.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy
Putting that
theory.
out there.
Conspiracy theory.
No guy in a blue skin tight suit walked up the mountain. and
Why
took
does
care of
that-
it.
But also, when you're climbing a mountain in a third world country, you're easily paid off.
But we don't know if it was
The
the third world
Sherpas.
country. All right. So anyway,
One of the Sherpas did it.
Linda says, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him.
Sherpas.
And then she even says, can I get sued for libel for saying this? So anyway, John's phone rings one day, and it's a guy, a mysterious guy. And he
Okay.
claims to be an arms dealer and aircraft broker. And he starts telling him, I can get you a Harrier jet. And
I can get you fucking air.
and I do
For
clandestine things with them.
$700,000.
Well, this guy, Victor Miller, claims he's from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Victor tells him the story that he had been hired by Pepsi's advertising agency's insurance company to find and acquire a Harrier jet.
Holy shit.
No.
Yeah.
And
And
they're
that
covering all their corners.
and that he's received $250,000 for the first right of refusal on this Harrier jet that he had in his possession. So Avenatti says if we could show actually that he had a Harrier jet, then that completely destroys the argument that the reason they couldn't make good to John was because the Pentagon and the DOD says that a civilian can't own a Harrier jet. So Todd says, I need proof. So he faxes him a wire transfer sheet. It had the insurance company logo on it. It had first right of refusal for the Harrier jet, and then it had $250,000 on it. He says it looked legit, so I had a lot of interest in how Victor got the jet, and we got to figure this out. So what they have to do is get to Victor to find out if this is legit. So John says that Victor claimed he smuggled the jet in and there was a bunch of shenanigans involved. And he says this is where it turns into like a Tom Clancy novel. So Todd says, to me, you know, sometimes I hear something and I get a beat on it. And the beat on this one was that it's a bunch of bullshit. And I remember telling John, I'm not getting involved with these guys. We're not going that way. I don't know who they are, who they represent. For all I know, they could be Pepsi and they're trying to suck us into something. Okay? So then they flash to somewhere in the middle of the country and they're doing a meeting with Victor. Avenatti, he says, we walk in and on an excitement level between 1 to 10, John's at a 97. He says, this is the biggest moment of John's life. And John says he starts telling us about how he specialized in finding rare and unique aircrafts. So he's getting excited. He's like, what if there's some there? So it's possible in the light of the lawsuit, if Pepsi didn't have the availability of a jet, they were going to go looking for one. That's their whole theory on this.
So that's a change in the lawsuit then.
Like
No.
they're trying to
Nothing has
attain
changed.
one so that they can prove that they can own one. Is that what you're trying to say?
It could be a number of reasons. It could
Okay.
be they need to get the jet to buy it from Victor and give it to John, or prove that it is either illegal or illegal to own a jet. But keep in mind, Victor's a shady character. Okay?
Got it.
I'm confused.
So Avenatti, just stay confused. So Avenatti shows up. Okay.
I feel like we're gonna figure out everything in the end.
Yeah.
I imagine so.
It's
It is
all
a
going to come
documentary.
together.
The resolution.
Avenatti and John go down there, and Victor says, voila.
Ah,
And he shows them a 3-day-old shrimp platter.
okay.
Shrimp platter.
So, yeah. They're
3
creep-
day. Why? Distinctly 3-day-old?
They said it looked like it had been around for 3
Oh,
days.
okay, gotcha.
They're trying to broker a deal for the plane, but there's no fucking plane. Okay? So Jeff, the wolf, says to me, the idea of someone at Pepsi or BBDO was out shopping for a Harrier jet was so inconceivable and still is that I can't put any credence to it. Okay? So John says it was a bust, no Harrier jet, bad shrimp. And this point, Avenatti's pissed at Hoffman because he's making John and him, John and Avenatti sleep in the same hotel room. And this is like
So
not
no
good enough.
jet, no shrimp, same hotel room.
Yeah.
Life fucking sucks. for
Planes,
these
trains,
guys
and
I know.
automobiles. And
2 queens, I hope.
No,
Two queen
it's
size
one
beds.
king
Yeah.
to
You never know.
share, and it's a
Beds.
smoking room. All
I've
right?
been there before.
okay.
So
So Avenatti says,
Scabies.
we got to come up with a new plan. And we need the court of public opinion on our side. So he decides that he needs to run an ad campaign that helps John's cause. So Todd says, I don't have a great education. I don't have a college education, but look up blackmail. And I would say that fits the description of what Michael Avenatti was trying to do. He was basically saying, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. All right. Todd says, I'm not in that game. All right. Avenatti says, John believed, as I believed, that this was going to go off the cliff and there wasn't going to be anything else to come out of it unless we switch to my strategy.
Right.
So at this point, Todd and John are having a little bit of a rift.
Right.
All right. Todd says, I don't like that shit. I don't want to touch that shit because you touch shit, you smell like shit, and I don't want to smell like shit. So good luck. So
After he shared a hotel room with someone else. All right, good.
no, that's Todd. He was paying for the hotel rooms.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, my bad.
So anyway, Avenatti, he goes under deep research. He's going to the libraries. He's finding out dirt on Pepsi, and he realized this isn't their first promotional scandal.
Oh, shit.
So the first thing he learned was that they had run a promotion, the exact same one in Canada, but there was one huge difference. There was a disclaimer at the end of the ad relating to the unavailability of the Harrier jet.
Wow.
So he says, why would Pepsi run an ad in Canada
Did
with a
they
disclaimer?
run it before or after the ad
Before.
here in the States?
Before.
So why did they put a disclaimer on that one and not this one?
We're going to tell you. You just got to be patient.
Be faster. All right, Chris. I'm excited.
He's literally in the middle of telling
I need
you.
these details.
He's literally in the middle of telling you.
So he says, why would they remove the disclaimer? So as soon as he found out that they had placed a disclaimer in Canada, he's convinced it wasn't an accident. He says, I was convinced that if you ultimately got to the people that actually put this thing together, if you could get them to talk, they would actually tell you the truth. Yeah, we wanted people to believe that they could get the jet. The second critical thing I learned when I was researching was I discovered that Pepsi had a history of problems with promotions gone awry.
Wow.
With the most prominent one being this scandal in the Philippines called Numbers Fever.
Oh, shit. Tell me about this now.
Okay. So you see a woman in the Philippines and it's very poor where she's at.
Yeah.
And she says, if it was advertised on TV, surely it's true. I'm not going to do Philippine voices.
Okay, no, it's okay.
Another man says they scammed us. And then it says
They scammed us.
there were riots and people died.
What?
That's how episode 3 ends.
Wow.
Yep.
Is there a Herkimer in this one?
Okay, episode 4, titled Landing the Plane. So we open up on the Philippines in the present day, and we have an interviewer asking a Filipino person, do you have any anger towards Pepsi? And a woman says, I was really angry. Why did they put out something that wasn't true? Now, she holds up a bottle cap with the number 349 on it. Another man is interviewed. He says, hope for nothing. I regret it terribly. Another woman, trust with the company is lost. Now, John says Michael did what he did, what he does best. He went digging for more dirt, trying to find a soft spot that he thought he could capitalize on and really paint them in a bad light. He mentioned the campaign they had in the Philippines that was an absolute disaster, and he uncovered a real bombshell.
Oh, boy.
All right. Let's get in the time machine, go back to 1992.
Oh, shit.
Okay?
I was...
Dave does this every episode. Don't worry, it's not your timeline.
It's my timeline, okay?
Their
It's
timeline.
mine.
Just wait till they get to the time before you were even born. It blows your
All right.
mind.
Oh, shit.
So back
We've been there.
then,
Quite a few.
Coke owned the Philippines market. Coke in the morning, Coke at the movies, Coke at every family occasion. They had 75% market share. So Pepsi's was very, very smaller. So they came up with a campaign called Pepsi Number Fever.
Ooh.
So
Number fever.
they show the commercial and it's like, here's something new from Pepsi. Buy any Pepsi product, look under their caps or crowns. You can win, 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 win. And it's one of those crazy commercials. So basically the pitch was if you collected bottle caps and if you got 3 numbers that, they drew, you would get this amount. So
Was this like the Snapple thing where like you get the little joke?
No,
and things?
Snapple just tells a story or a little tidbit about the day. This is a contest.
But you like win things under the Pepsi cap.
What? You win something like a piece of advice?
I don't know, like a Herkimer jet.
No, nothing like that. So
Okay.
You can win 100 pesos. You can win 500 pesos, but the main prize was 1 million pesos. Now, in 1992, 1 million pesos was about 40 grand.
Wow.
Okay. So they interview another man. He says that amount could change your life if you got lucky enough to get it. So they promote these and say, you could be a millionaire, a millionaire, a millionaire, which I guess for them is a 40,000-aire in US dollars. But, that's the whole thing. 1 million pesos is 40 grand. So the interviewer says, goes around to people and like, so how much Pepsi?
Buys a lot of sandals.
How much Pepsi did you buy? And people are like, oh, I drink it every day, 5-6 times a day.
Oh, boy.
How many times?
Well, they can't drink the water, so
You
you
don't
gotta
know.
drink something.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah. Another person's like 3 times a day. I'd buy 3 bottles a day. And then
Breakfast,
this other
lunch, and
guy,
dinner.
this other guy's like, I'd go to the garbage dump and try to find bottle caps like that. Much like my buddy
So
that
it
collected.
is like the Snapple caps.
No, it's not like the Snapple caps.
It's a joke on the Snapple cap. It's $1 million on the Pepsi
What's
cap.
the Snapple cap? Because I don't know what the Snapple cap thing is.
I don't know. Look left. You'll find something funny. That's what it says.
Right, but
Like
that's not
bullshit.
right. That's just a saying. That's not a contest.
I don't know. There was I think I won a Snapple once.
What? Okay. All right.
It's very possible.
This is clearly a promotion.
Big winnings in my 6-year-old life.
To drink Pepsi and you can win money. That's
Fair.
the whole thing.
Fair,
Okay.
fair.
So people started buying a lot of Pepsi.
It's life changing.
They
You could win $40,000.
You'd be a 40,000-aire. So they're doing this instead of buying bread at this point. Okay.
No.
Yep. There's a big change in sales, and a few months, it's already eating into the dominance of Coca-Cola. So another person's asked, did you really think you had a chance of winning? And the person says, yes, because that's what they advertised. Then one day, we were watching TV, and our number, 349, was chosen. I recognized that my bottle cap had won. I was happy, extremely happy. I won 1 million pesos. Everybody's like, this is fantastic. I just won 1 million pesos. And then they're looking at the number again and again. And one guy's like, I had 2 of them. I had 2 of these. So
No.
There's just hundreds of 340.
yep.
This is 349 millions.
There's 349s everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So Avenatti says there's an untold number of individuals with the number. And so you've got thousands of people who thought they'd basically won the lottery overnight. So Pepsi says we're not going to make good on our promise because of this computer error, and people went crazy. It was all over the country.
They're going to get a flip-flop to the face.
We then realized that this is no ordinary marketing fiasco. So all these people, they rushed to the Pepsi sales offices demanding Pepsi honor the promise. People are mad. They start throwing rocks at outgoing Pepsi trucks, throwing stones at salesmen.
No.
Yep. A Molotov cocktail was detonated, meant for a Pepsi truck, and it resulted in the death of a teacher who was walking by.
Oh, no.
One woman
poor
actually
teachers.
says, if there was no 349, my mom wouldn't have died. We could have been at peace at this time. She would have seen her grandchildren.
Jesus.
Wait, how many people actually won this?
They don't say, but a
Undisclosed,
lot.
thousands. It says.
Yeah.
I
But
guess 349.
maybe.
It's like an even number, but
They said
349 is not an even number.
it's not an even number at all.
So another
But you
guy-
can't divide it by 3.
You can't. I don't think you can. 349? You can? Okay. You're the math teacher. Another guy says there was an incident where a Pepsi plant was bombed, which resulted in the number of 3 employees. Now, according to Avenatti, that swayed public opinion, and Pepsi was able to avoid the public relations disaster. So lo and behold,
because the people revolted and burned down their fucking.
I'm guessing.
They're like, look at these savages burning down their place.
Unless I fucked up making a note, but I'm reading that myself going, well, all right, we're happy.
Yeah.
they bombed the plant. Everything's good now. Well, anyway, the investigation ensued. The government of the Philippines gets involved, and they conclude that Pepsi had bombed their own trucks and
Oh,
attacked
shit.
basically their own
No.
facility, had staged the whole thing in an effort to
Whoa.
sway public opinion and get out in front of this thing. Now, I
Heavy.
wrote these in
Wait,
bold.
how do you bomb your own trucks to get out ahead of this thing?
They're trying.
So ask the U.S. government.
Yeah, where have you been? It's called Black Ops. Now, I have this bolded, and I wrote this down, and it says, because this came up on the screen, it said, these allegations have been disputed by Pepsi. The Filipino government later concluded Pepsi was likely not behind the bombing. They suggested it was, quote, rival bottlers, unquote, instead.
Because the Filipino government is so trustworthy.
Oh, like
Yes.
ours is better?
It was
fair point.
It was
Okay.
Filipino drinks, Qingtao, that were trying to
But
take him down.
isn't the leader of the Philippines like gung ho on murdering?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've
Didn't
checked.
didn't
Like, it's a-
Pacquiao?
Yeah,
run,
he was
run-
actually interviewed in this documentary.
Oh wow!
I just
Whoa.
cut it due to time shortage. Now, anyway, John says that was what was being put forward by Michael. And that's pretty vicious. But again, at this point, I was pretty like on the ropes. Now, Avenatti says he came to the conclusion that Pepsi had a history of making a lot of promises, but also of avoiding to deliver. They liked the quid, but they didn't like the quo.
Yeah.
They'd sell the shit out of Pepsi. It's great for Wall Street. That's great for the fat cats in the C-suites. Then when it came to actually pay the piper, it was a different ball game. Oh, it was a computer error. The Harrier jet isn't real. And so the idea I came
Harrier
up
Jet
with
comes back in.
was we're going to create an ad campaign that's going to go after Pepsi. So they literally create their own ad campaign to attack Pepsi. Now, Avenatti, he's in a home under house arrest, and he pulls out one of those big poster boards that's in a case that you zip up, and he goes, I knew I was going to need this someday.
No.
So he pulls out a picture of what looks like John, our hero, with a black eye on his face, but the black eye is the Pepsi logo.
Okay.
Okay?
I like.
It's like
Circle
it's like a
blue with-
red and blue wave with white in the middle of it.
Yes,
So he puts
okay.
so it's covering John's eye. So anyway, the bottom it says, Avenatti just says Pepsi deceiving a generation. So then he shows the second ad, which is just a blank piece of paper, totally blank. Okay. Now at the very bottom, there's a disclaimer. So figure it's 1/90th of the page.
Sure.
It's just a disclaimer. It says, "Hey Pepsi, look down here. This is the space that's reserved for legal verbiage. You know, the kind of stuff that keeps you from getting yourself in trouble because it negates any ambiguous or otherwise misleading promises that may appear in your ad. Pretty cool safety measure, huh? Yeah, but unfortunately, your Pepsi Points television commercial didn't have any such disclaimers. So viewers such as John Leonard were left to think the offer was as genuine as the t-shirt and sunglasses."
Yeah. People look for the disclaimers.
Yes,
They
they
need
do.
it. They need the guarantee. Look at them at the box.
Absolutely.
So Avenatti says, if that hadn't done the trick, then we were going to break out the heavy artillery.
Oh.
Oh.
So they show an ad.
but-
Bombs, you might say.
Yes. So they show a Pepsi bottle, and it's lit on fire, and it's been turned into a Molotov cocktail.
No.
Yep. And a guy's getting ready to throw it
Okay,
at
I like it.
presumably
I like it.
maybe a Pepsi office.
Sure.
They don't show.
I like it. I like it.
So that ad reads, in 1992, Pepsi's Number Fever promotion led to a huge headache for the soft drink giant. Pepsi angered the winners by offering only 500 pesos, $20. So all these people were given $20 instead of $40,000. That was, you know.
So
See, and they
dirty.
settled on that shit.
Well, I don't think they had a choice.
Yeah.
So
I mean, how
Avenatti
much is
says
$20 worth?
it was
Either you
brilliant.
settle or we take away your roads.
Fair.
Avenatti said it was brilliant. You know, I guess if I was Trump, I'd say it was beautiful. There's never been more beautiful cocktail ever.
The fuck.
Wait.
He's going back to
Yeah.
the Ukraine speech.
I get it.
Okay.
I understand, but I'm just saying it just seems out of place.
Right. So the
Little
tagline
bit.
on that one said Pepsi deceiving a generation.
Yes.
So they
I like that.
found
I like that.
papers in the United States that were willing to run the ad, including USA Today. They also had billboards reserved in front of Pepsi's headquarters in Times Square because they wanted the executives to see it every day. So, you know, he was like, I wanted to punch them right in their nose. But he says then they come up with numbers and cost projections, and they weren't small, a couple 100,000, as he recalls. This is John saying that. So then Avenatti says, so the idea was we're going to have Hoffman fund it. He's got the 700,000 because Pepsi never cashed the check. Pepsi actually sent them the check back.
Right.
So presumably he has that money to spend on this effort. And he's like, we've been staying 2 to a room now. All right. He's been saving the money.
Yeah.
Let's branch out. 1 to a room. We got this.
Todd says, I remember sitting down with him and him giving me the pitch, and he has a couple of these storyboards up there, and they're really negative, incriminating. It didn't sit well with me. John loved it. He said, come on, Todd, let's do it. And he says, I felt like we put this before Pepsi and said, look, if we don't make a settlement with you, we're running these ads all over the United States. He says, look up blackmail, and I'd say it fits the category. Well, that's the same thing Avenatti got busted for with Nike, just so you know.
Yeah.
The
Attack
exact
ads.
same thing. No, he threatened them. He said, I'm going to do this if you don't pay us.
Yeah.
So Avenatti says, Hoffman asked him, what do you think the likelihood is that Pepsi's going to sue John over this? And he said 100%. So he says, how can you possibly advise that we should run this campaign? And he said, because Todd, it's all going to come out in the wash. Pepsi won't succeed in the case, most likely. It'll all be settled at the end. Either John's going to get a Harrier jet or there's going to be money that's going to be paid to John. So Todd said, I've been around the track a time or two, and I didn't like what was being pitched. A lot of the things he wanted us to do bore a very strong resemblance to the things that he did that he's going to federal prison for now. Okay.
Shit.
Pepsi's the one saying something false, and now we're going to do something that's just as bad and jump into the cesspool with them. No, I'm not. I'm not going to prison over a goddamn Harrier jet, and neither are you,
idea.
John.
Good.
Smart.
Right. So John says Todd didn't see the get down in the mud, throw hand grenades, throw Molotov cocktails route to success. So Avenatti's pissed. He says in the 11th hour, Todd Hoffman pulled the plug. I told Todd, listen, you're on the verge of fucking this whole thing up. Step aside. I've got people that will come in and will buy you out of your position. We are going to proceed. Wow. Avenatti also adds, John told me that he wanted Hoffman out of the deal at that point because John believed there wasn't going to be anything left unless my strategy was followed. So Todd says, I told John, I don't want to be a jack-up artist. That's not the idea. That's not where I'm going with this. You want me out? Fine. I'll get out tomorrow, but I'm not going in this direction. So according to Avenatti, he says Todd still wanted to maintain control. And if that meant the plane flew into the side of the mountain, so be it. He was just being impossible to deal with. It was typical Todd Hoffman. So Todd,
Fly into the mountain.
crashed the deal.
It's very distinct.
He could have said towers, but I think he was being respectful to those that we lost on 9/11.
That's not what I was
I
thinking.
don't think it's happened yet, 9/11.
Anyway, Todd has a nice retort. He says, I would say Michael's wearing an
Allow me to retort.
He says, I would say Michael's wearing an ankle bracelet, and I'm not. I'm a free man, and I go to sleep at night, and I don't have to worry about anything coming after me, including the 36 federal indictments and facing prison or any of that shit. So John says, I had to make a strategic decision on which direction to go. And though I thought this could be won with Michael, I chose Todd. They've got to go up against a pretty big law firm. And it wasn't just Pepsi's. Remember, they got their advertising lawyers, they got their insurance company lawyers, and they're outgunned. So they need to bring in another lawyer. So we meet this guy, David Nachman, very successful litigation attorney. And he says, you can't play with something and get people to respond emotionally if you're not prepared to deliver. He said, recently I took on the manufacturers and distributors of opioid products. He says, holding Pepsi to account really gripped me, and that motivated me and my team to pursue this. So after Pepsi filed their lawsuit against John, it was assigned to the docket of District Court Judge Kimball Wood. And Michael Avenatti says this. He said, I kept tabs on what was going on as far as legal maneuvering, but not in a stalkerish kind of way. Mm-hmm. He's like, I wasn't like a boyfriend or girlfriend who'd been broken up with, but he's keeping his eyes on things.
Yeah.
He's in the
What
background.
kind of boyfriend or girlfriend is he? Question.
Jilted lover, but still with interest. So
Not stalking though.
no. So Larry says, this is a bad judge for us. She's going to be on big business's side. Well, John says our whole goal at this point was just to get in front of a jury. Pepsi's whole goal was to not let us get in front of a jury. But Pepsi successfully convinced Judge Wood for a grant summary judgment. So what this is, if you don't know, is a mechanism to decide a case before it goes to jury.
Yep.
Okay. So John's bummed out because he said if there was a jury in front of my peers, I think they would have been fair. And David says we wanted to take, depositions of all the advertising people who developed it and the promotional campaign, all those people. So, Avenatti, agrees, and he said if you took depositions, you could have asked him about the Canada stuff. Why was the point total raised? Why is it that you didn't make it clear that it was a joke? So they've lost that. Now, Downer Michael Patty comes in and he says, when we brought Pepsi to the editorial house to show them the rough cut, it ended with the original offer, $700 million. And they said, can we see it again? Which wasn't unusual. We ran it again. And then one of the clients said, the 700 million Pepsi points, I find that hard to read. He said, what do you mean? Well, Jeff, the Wolf, says, at that point, there was a discussion in the editing room and said the number's too damn long because the long number, it wouldn't fit in the frame. It was so long, the 700 million, which was the original total. So these fuckers cut it just so it looked cleaner. Oh, that was why they did it. Yeah. So
wait, what?
So they changed
They
700
took off
million.
3 numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
3.
Somebody said that looks a little.
letters.
Yeah. Someone said that looks a little busy.
So really, that's 5 spaces. So it's a.
You're the
comma,
math teacher.
A space and 3 zeros.
Yeah. So Michael says.
That's not an argument.
Michael says, so we had the editor take out one of the zeros and make it 70 million. He said, I still think that's too hard to read. And he said, okay. He says, take out another zero.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So then we made it 7 million.
I see. I thought it was 700,000.
Yeah.
You're right. 7 million.
Yeah.
My bad.
And we run that and he goes, I can't read that. We should go with 7 million points. What do you think? And the people with him, they all agreed. I think they should have known better. It was their promotion. Went through their legal system.
Yeah.
And their words are there, written by lawyers to make sure that everything was kosher and straight up.
Uh-oh.
But
Brian-
it's not kosher.
Brian says it was just an aesthetic. Well, the Wolf says nobody thought about the 10 cents a point thing because it was unanimously understood and accepted. It was a gag. Michael says, hey, Jeff, you're the Wolf. You don't want me testifying. I can't be put under oath.
Who knows what I'll tell these fools?
I would have been the
What
worst.
will I say?
I would have been the worst witness Pepsi could have called. Because if you go, hey, listen, the commercial I presented had this ending, and it was changed by the client to this ending, and that made the whole thing happen, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
Todd says, well, there's our case. They wanted to make it credible, and therefore it was credible. Well, we Pepsi really tried to make it credible. We advertised it for 7 million points, so it would be credible. Well, David says, we argued to the judge that additional discovery should be had. Well, she wasn't persuaded because she said, look, in her view, she had all the relevant facts and she didn't need anything else. She said the advertisement itself and the catalog, the correspondence between John Leonard and Pepsi, that was enough for her. So David argued to the judge that additional discovery should be had. She wasn't persuaded because she said, look, in her view, she had all of the relevant facts already. The advertisement itself and the catalog, the correspondence between John Leonard and Pepsi. As far as she was concerned, that's all that was relevant to determining whether a reasonable person could have taken this as an offer. So now it's 1999. We are 4 years into the case. John says we're
John's 23.
4.
24.
Close, 24.
God damn, my math
So-
is off tonight.
So John says we're years into it. Things are dragging on, briefings back and forth. It didn't seem like the legal process was going anywhere. Those early thrills were gone. He says, at this protracted battle was going on, Todd and I continued climbing together. So they actually go to climb to Everest.
What? They climbed Everest
Yep.
all the way to the top.
Well, yep. While they're there, they
They
remember.
meet Green Boots?
They did what?
Did they meet Green Boots?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Green
I can't talk
Boots.
to him.
What?
I
You
can't
don't know
talk.
about Green Boots?
No. What's Green Boots?
Green Boots is this man who unfortunately died hiking Everest, but he has bright ass green boots.
Oh, you can see his
So
dead
he's
body
a
on the
marker,
top. Yeah.
To tell you that you are right there.
Right
to
at
get
the
to
Hillary
top.
step.
Pretty much, yeah.
Hillary Step's at the
Step's
bottom.
gone.
No, it's not.
Hillary Step's gone.
Oh, it is?
Hillary Step.
The earthquake that happened in 2017?
Okay.
I think it's 17.
So what about George Mallory's body?
Or
the beginning
16?
of the.
Hillary Step is gone.
Okay. So what about George Mallory's body? Is it past the Green Boots?
George Mallory?
Yeah.
No, he's up and down.
What do you mean he's up and down? He's been stuck on the mountain for. They took him off.
No, he's been pushed off to the side.
Okay.
Because there's the Valley of the Colors
Okay.
where they push all the people over
Yeah, that just died.
The Sherpas.
that have died. Because
Yeah.
bringing them down will cost them more effort
I get
than
it.
even getting up the mountain.
I wouldn't want to come down.
I mean, I always like it come
All right.
down, but
So
whatever.
Green. No.
Anyways, so Green Boots is this person that I think he's an Indian man who hiked. He
Was
supposed to be one of
an
the
Indian
first
man.
Indian man
Yeah.
who hiked Everest. But anyways, he passed away underneath some sort of thing, and he's a marker.
Okay.
Very nice.
Noted.
Sorry.
No
Anyways.
worries.
You're good.
Anyways,
So anyway, they actually were taking calls from their lawyers at base camp. Michael, he says to me, the written opinion, there's some unbelievable comedy in there. I can't believe it's funnier than the commercial.
Funnier than the commercial. Resounding reviews.
According to Kimball Wood, she says no school would have ever made a parking space for a student's fighter jet. She criticizes the commercial for not having
Fair.
the pilot wear a helmet.
give me the dirt ball.
She determines that the case didn't have any merit, that the offer that was made would not have been seen by a reasonable person as a legitimate offer.
Fair offer.
Todd says the big thing that they hung their hat on was that no reasonable person could find this ad credible. Well, who are they advertising to?
Yeah.
John
Children.
says, from a long-tenured federal judge's perspective, it may not have seemed like a legitimate offer, but I can tell you millions of peers saw the commercial and thought it was an offer. Now, I say millions, that's a stretch. I'm guessing there's 5 Johns in the world that thought this was real. That's my personal take. I could be wrong. Todd says you're advertising to a specific group. You should be asking that group, is that credible? I think you would find a majority of the people would find that credible. I think it was a corporate decision from a corporate judge. I'm sorry to say. Well, John says onward and upward, back to Mount Vincent. It's time to get in the tent because these guys, they're getting ready to go for the summit.
No shit.
John, well, we're going to go give the
Oh my
top
God,
a
does
try.
one die on the mountain?
Let's crunch along. So that's all you get from those guys.
Todd dies on the mountain.
No.
Calling it now.
That's it. That's just the one break, and then we're going to go back, talk more stuff about the case. You know, the suits say, hey, he had a clever shot, trying to either get us to settle or win a court case. And, they were unsuccessful at both, but, hats off to him. Linda's mom says, I'm really proud of him for doing that, and somebody should have. I mean, it was an offer, and he should have gotten the jet. And at this point, John says, God dang. Maybe I should have taken that early settlement, huh?
Shoulda, woulda.
John says, one night I'm watching Jeopardy and I come up as a freaking Jeopardy question.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
No.
Yep. Michael Patty says,
What's the Jeopardy question?
when they say,
What is a Jeopardy question?
This man tried to sue Pepsi
Okay,
for
I'm not asking you a Jeopardy question. My question is, what was the Jeopardy question? Not what is a Jeopardy question. I know what Jeopardy questions are.
This man tried to unsuccessfully sue Pepsi in 1995 for failure to deliver a Harrier jet.
That's a good one.
So answer the Jeopardy question.
Who is
John.
John?
Fuck, I'm not gonna get the
I
last
don't know
name.
the last name either.
Who is John Leonard?
We're in this together.
Hoffman? No.
All right. So Michael Patty says,
John Pepsi.
Michael Patty says, for the health of my career, my client, my agency, I wanted to dislike John Leonard. On the other hand, if I was 20 years old and I could figure this thing out, I would have been damn excited. I can't ever see this guy being excited over
Yeah, I
anything.
don't know.
No.
I never get excited for anything.
I kind of view him as a kid with a quarter at the carnival who wants to beat the carnival games, and you kind of got to root for that. Even in retrospect, I do, because it's Mark Twain. It's like Americana. All right, so let's get back to the top of the mountain. Woohoo! Woohoo! Top of the bottom. What a dream, John. Awesome stuff. A dream come true. Oh my God, what a dream come true. What a day. They're at the summit, guys.
Wow.
Now, it's unclear if
Mount Vincent.
I'm assuming because
Vincent.
they didn't go back and shoot Everest again. So they're at Vincent.
Did they ever make Everest?
Yeah,
Did
of
we know
course.
that?
Yeah, they made it. John says it's interesting looking backwards on things, especially things that didn't turn out the way you hoped. Todd says, all right, here goes. Woohoo. They're taking pictures of each other.
Yeah.
Todd says, irrespective of whether the plane got delivered, didn't get delivered, this did change things and changed them for the better, and I'm proud of that. And it's because of 2 people that got together, John and myself, who forged a friendship on a mountain. John, a lasting friendship with further adventures to come. Well, thank you, Pepsi, for running a misleading and false advertising. We never would have been here without you. Woohoo! Todd underwent successful surgery and had his cancer removed. He's now in remission.
Oh, nice.
John's married
Oh,
with kids.
Sweet Jesus.
And he's a
How old is John now?
park ranger in Alaska. He's my
40
age,
something.
46, 47. So
Park ranger in Alaska. Pretty
Yep.
good a gig.
the only thing I wanted to bring up that I thought
Wait,
was
he goes
funny-
from wanting to fly a Herkimer jet, Harrier,
Harrier. Yeah,
close enough,
yeah.
to being a park ranger in Alaska?
That's what he wanted to do. He
Now
never
is-
wanted to be a jet pilot. He just wanted the jet. Okay? If he wanted to be a
I'm
jet
still
pilot,
lost on their
I
connection.
know you are. I know. It's all right. So there's a statement of facts that I thought was pretty funny that the judge put out. She said an AV-8 Harrier II jump jet alleged to be owned to the plaintiff. The Harrier jet is not yet visible, but the observer senses the presence of a mighty plane as the extreme winds generated by its flight create a paper maelstrom in a classroom devoted to an otherwise dull physics lesson. Finally, the Harrier jet swings into view and lands by the side of the school building next to a bicycle rack. Several students run for cover, and the velocity of the wind strips one hapless faculty member down to his underwear. While the faculty member is being deprived of his dignity, the voiceover announces, "Now, the more Pepsi you drink, the more great stuff you're going to get."
Jesus.
She was worried about the science teacher's dignity
Ah,
in the
Aw,
opinion.
That's sweet.
So there you go. That's it. You should have taken the money. Obviously, we know that.
well, I mean, aren't they? I thought I heard some
Should-
stuff that they're actually still kind of in litigation or something. No,
Yeah, no,
it's
wait,
over.
No, it's over.
how much money did John and Todd actually get? in the
Nothing.
end?
Nothing. Didn't get anything out of
They
it.
got nothing.
They got $0.
They got $0.
They just got fame in a documentary.
Well, I'm sure that Netflix paid them probably.
They didn't really
I
lose
bet-
money except for lawyer fees, I
At
guess.
the very least, they got sponsors for their hiking.
Maybe,
Pepsi probably.
maybe.
Maybe a Coca-Cola.
It'd be interesting to.
Those guys lived enough life for a couple people.
Yeah, but
Fair.
it would be interesting to know what Netflix paid them for this because they do their life rights. They had to sign that over. I'm sure somebody wanted to make it into a movie, and then Netflix decided a documentary was enough. I would like to know if you think they should have gotten the money. Dave?
Well,
Good question.
again, in the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, like I personally think that they should been awarded the money, but I also think it was sleazy for them to go after it.
You have my exact opinion. I agree. I don't think either one of these guys are winners. I think that he's pretty lame for bringing the lawsuit. I think Pepsi was generous in giving them the offer of $750,000 or $1 million. And I think
I would have doubled it. I would have said 1.5 mil or get the fuck out of here.
I would have done more negotiating. I said, if you do $3 million, we'll sign today and walk out of that room with, what does it say, $800,000 after taxes and split with everybody. That's a pretty good amount of money for somebody that's 20 years old. So, but in the end, it probably would have killed him having that much money at that age. So maybe this
Would've
was
blown it.
maybe this was the way it was supposed to be. He's happy. He's married with kids. He's a park ranger. What's not to love? Now, as for the documentary, we doc things around here.
Yep.
This is not a 4-part documentary. This could have been told in an hour and a half, and instead they chose to double that.
And we took 3.
Yeah. So this is a 2-star doc for me. If it interests you, the subject matter, go watch it. If not, you just listen to it, and that's enough. You're probably just as confused as Carling, and if you are, then you should watch it. So that's all I have to add. Most importantly, we do appreciate you listening to our show, and it means a lot to us. So if you have time, please follow us at Down on the Docks Pod on Twitter, or you can find us at Down on the Docks Pod on Instagram. Or you can email us at downonthedockspod@gmail.com. And Carling, what's the most important thing that helps out our success on this
I was
show?
going to say, and if you harass Chris enough
Mm-hmm.
and throw in those 5-star reviews, you may end up on the show.
Yep. So go to Apple and leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and tell us what you think about the show, whether or not you like the episodes, whether or not you hate them, what we need to change around here, and we'll take it all with a grain of salt. That's it, and have a wonderful week.